Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am very sorry. I feel like I'm saying this a lot, and it's because I have been late a lot. But I am sorry for starting so late. I wanted to start at 8. I had a plan for starting at 8, and yet here we are, 2 hours later. But as always, I plan on giving you a good Stellaris stream. So, welcome. It's been a little while since I played this. A lot of stuff has been going on, both just in terms of life things as well as streaming. So we had, for those of you who are not in Canada, our nation's birthday, Confederation, is July the 1st. I had a lovely friend, Jesse Quill, come by and celebrated the holiday, and of course, just shortly after that, there is Independence Day, and I've never played Assassin's Creed 3, and Assassin's Creed proved to be very popular on this channel, so I wasn't going to turn down the opportunity to play Assassin's Creed 3 on Independence Day. And we've been burning through it pretty quickly. I have a specific reason for doing that. But with that in mind, it has meant... has meant that I miss out on a few things. So, with that in mind, we're back. Can't do much about what happened in the past, but we can definitely... move forward now. So we've got the Mishar Cooperative, which was basically the group that we were playing. We are reasonably well into the game now, so some of the opening moves, which I think probably maybe if you want to start playing the game, Rouge Light Girl. Thank you very much for that, host. Great to see you. How are you doing? Feels like it's been a while since I've seen you, but I hope you have been doing well. But yeah, so if you are, one of the main reasons why I started with Stellaris, in addition to the fact that Utopia is out and the game is still going strong, there was a Humble Bundle, which was over a month ago now. But a lot of new people could have potentially gotten into Stellaris as a result of that Humble Bundle. And so you've been moving. Oh my. Well, I don't move particularly well. I hope you move better than I do, but if you don't, I'm sorry, and I hope you are well after it. I don't know why there are two. Clearly there's a very big difference between both of these. Oh my. Good luck, Medicus Ray. Welcome. Yeah, I hate moving too. But yeah, anyways, so if you're in this boat, if you're somebody who wants to get into Stellaris, as always, ask questions. I think these games are fun when you can share them with people, and there's always something to learn. But I will also encourage you guys, if you sort of don't want to... The one thing that I always kind of gets me about some sort of Let's Plays for games and things like that. Like, I don't really learn a lot watching Let's Plays, because it's kind of like they make decisions or they're sort of partway through the presentation. It's like magic that it came through. So we're going to have like 8 colonies, we're going to have a big navy, and, if you're just starting with the game and you're trying to figure out what all the menus do, maybe, you just push X, Y, and Z. It's all so perfectly simple. Is maybe not what you want to hear. So with that in mind, obviously I can't start a brand new game every time I stream. I would not have the opportunity to see all the wonderful endgame content that they have. But I encourage you guys to ask questions. I encourage you guys to check out the game and make some mistakes yourself. That's one of the best ways to learn. If you have any questions, doesn't even matter if it's something that's really basic about the beginning of the game. I may not be the best Stellaris player on Twitch, but I am told that I'm reasonably good at explaining things to people. So I do my best. You also have very little shit for a 30-year-old, which is a bit sad. No, I think that's a really good... I don't quite know what the normal life cycle is, Rouge Light Girl, but I think I have certainly felt that once you're around kind of the age where you start accumulating possessions, generally having a lot of stuff is a detriment, not a benefit. So I think you're doing it right. So I think by the standards of the game, this is not a particularly large fleet. In terms of Stellaris overall. You'll have, if you go on screenshot, you'll see ones with hundreds of thousands of points worth. But one of the ways that you can check, this is a good teaching moment, you can use relative power. So if you compare this to all my neighbors, in terms of both fleet power and naval capacity, the only group that potentially equals me is this Otaga Union, which originally was sort of seen as being potentially an antagonist, but then they went all soft on us, so there you have it. But yeah, everybody else I could just kind of roll over, which is what we're going to have to decide here with the Royal Yanni domains. But I found out something really interesting at the end of the last playthrough, so there's a couple of things that are really good. Most of your stuff is just books and clothes. By the way, I'm not ignoring Jess's host. I will get to that in a second. I'm really excited to be back into the game, and I wanted to explain a few things. So apologies, Jess. Welcome, and welcome everybody from Jess's cast. I know you had a shorter experience than I think everybody was banking on, but a little Jess is better than no Jess. But yeah, I think Jesse Quill can attest to the fact that my main possession are my books, and they're very heavy. What are some of your favorite books, by the way, Rouge Light Girl? So yeah, to answer, I will do a quick shout out for Jesse Quill, but I want to answer Maticus Ray's question. So, I mean, in some cases, it depends. One other thing you can consider about fleet power is that if I wanted to upgrade this, it would cost me 1,897 because I have a bunch of outdated technology. So, that sort of stuff, it's hard. By the standards of this game that I'm playing right now, we're in a really good spot. One thing that I'm considering, so we've had a pretty peaceful start so far, and I actually have a lot of expansion opportunities ahead of me, so I'm not sure I want to do this. But these guys are xenophobic isolationists. I mean, they're peaceful, so I should feel a little bit bad about this. They are a rival. But one thing that I kind of want to do is take this space. If I could do this, I'd be really happy. But unfortunately, they're 1 point above vassalization. So, what I would probably do... What atrocities are they doing? Are they slavers? I guess I can't see, but maybe it'll show us something. Well, they've got robots. But yeah, so if I could vassalize them, I'd do that right away. What I would probably have to do is sort of carve out some of the worlds that I want, and then as a phase 2, I would need to take them. I'd need to take them out, but war is expensive. All right, so before I start the playthrough in earnest, it gives people a chance to come in. I did want to say a quick word. So Rouge Light Girl obviously hosted us first. I don't know whether or not the move is causing any interruptions in the casting schedule. So hello, Pie of Reckoning. Good to see you again. But as always, follows are costless. And when streamers that you're interested in come online, it will notify you. So that's one thing that I can definitely recommend. And then Jesse Quill was doing it's kind of an interesting, I think it was a horror style game which had sort of an echolocation mechanic, which was kind of interesting to look at. I can't recall the name. I think it was Perception. You had your first stream back yesterday. Excellent. What did you play, Rouge Light Girl? But she had a shorter stream tonight, unfortunately. I think the power cut out for some reason in her APC. But she's an absolute sweetheart. She does a lot of creative casts. She's got a wonderful community. She's one of the people who's actually sort of shown how you can do a Patreon well, where you're adding value. It's not just sort of like a money sink for rubes who are going to give you money. But again, an absolutely wonderful caster, somebody who's been really supportive of my own cast, and somebody who has given me a lot of encouragement and advice over the years. So somebody who I definitely strongly recommend checking out, both if you like my stuff, and number two, if you're just looking for good channels. So, as always, when we start Stellaris, and especially when we start after a break, we stop and smell the roses. The thing I like to do in Stellaris, it's not necessarily the same for every Paradox game, but I usually like to start with the outliner, because the outliner usually tells me all the things that I need to know. So for instance, I am currently generating a colony ship. Now I don't recall what kind of colonist is on this ship, which is a bit of a shame. Little game called Reigns, it was on sale on Steam recently, very funny game, lots of hilarious references. I think that one is published by Devolver, is it not? I don't 100% remember. I've heard of it, but I don't really know anything about it. I'll have to check out your VOD. So I'm in a little bit of trouble because I don't remember exactly what I wanted to do with this colony ship. Probably either take Stenlar, because there are 2 planets that I can inhabit. Oh, sorry, only one that I can inhabit there. Vega because of its size, or Ibaka because it's a Gaia world and it's in a contested area. I have a feeling I wanted to try and take the Gaia world, but I don't really know my intentions. Well, I'll try not to hold a Total Biscuit review against Reigns. I'm kidding. All right. So one thing I didn't realize about one thing that I did not realize about these worlds are that I can colonize with robots or androids, which means that where once I would have all of these like red planets that I couldn't colonize, I can now sort of send my units out. Now, there's going to be some drawbacks to that. Let's take a really good example. So one thing that I definitely want is the Gorham system, just so I can sort of link everything together. Now, what's going to happen here is, in terms of tiles that I can work, mineral, food, so on and so forth, but it's not going to be very good for energy. And this is going to be a bit of a problem here, because in the end, a lot of my, it's going to mean that all of my sort of specialist tiles, like let's say, let's take Vega 2 as an example. So it means a lot of these ones are going to have to wind up sort of servicing the energy cost for these outposts. Now, I still think it's worth it. I mean, in the end, what it is it's specialization. But the challenge, of course, is that if you were to have a rival who was sort of looking at your distribution of resources, you could be like, oh, okay, well, if I take Vega, he's not going to be able to fund any of his infrastructure. He'll go bankrupt, and I don't even need to worry about the rest of the war. So, I've not run into any Fallen Empires this playthrough. I have in previous games. I'm kind of hoping I do. But we'll see how it goes. Jesse Quill, we just finished talking about you. How are you doing, my friend? I'm going to have to check that out then, Rouge Light Girl. All right, so as I was mentioning, first thing I do is I always take a look at my outliner. So one thing that I sort of want to do is colonize as many planets as I can. I want to have as many hands working, as many tiles. As you can see here, we've got a lot of upgrade opportunities. There's a very specific reason that I've done that, which you'll see in a quick minute. So we've got Mishar being built here. Looks like... Alright, and we've got a droid being built here, so I'm okay with that. Alright, so I'll give you an example of how some of these principles work. Let's say... Okay, here's a good one. So what are my options in terms of a mineral upgrade? Well, right now we've got a mining network which builds two additional minerals, and it's on a block that produces one. So really what this mining network is giving me is 2 minerals in exchange for 1 power. What happens if I upgrade it? Well, I spend 90 minerals in order to get 1 additional. It's a mining network 2. So it's one additional mineral. I'm paying 90 for it, and the maintenance cost is 0.5. So I'm spending 90 minerals plus 0.5 energy a turn to get 1 mineral extra. Let's compare this to a tile here, which is currently being worked. I can build a mining network. That's going to cost me 60 minerals. It's going to cost me 1 energy, so technically the energy cost is higher. But what I get in exchange is 2 additional minerals because there's nothing that's been developed on this tile. So the trick here is that you have finite resources, right? You measure your cost in terms of what you give up in order to obtain something. So that's why you'll see all of these upgrade signs. It's not that I hate upgrading. It's that right now it's more cost effective for me to put the money down on additional mining network tiles than it is for me to upgrade some of my existing features. Now, I'm eventually going to run out of space, and at that point, I'm going to need to start. Putting a little bit more towards. I'm going to need to start putting more towards my my infrastructure needs. But right now, what I'm kind of doing is I'm building up enough energy that I can keep everything sort of sustainable. And then the next thing that I'm doing is I'm more or less putting everything into minerals where I can. I am also trying to keep a healthy food store, and that's just basically because it helps creatures, it helps like Mishar and that grow. So that's sort of my main motivation for not upping the food stockpiles yet. But like I said, what we're looking to do right now is we're looking to sort of maximize our potential in terms of acquiring material goods. As far as this planet is concerned, I'm not going to build any more droids, and that's because droids are not great at working science tiles and energy tiles. So in this particular case here, I've sort of got what I needed from that planet. This one, on the other hand, is ripe for droid colonization. I think we'll head straight for that. And build a new mining network. The other thing that you want to do is distribute the building where you can. In this case, we don't have enough, so we're okay there. But the reason why I would want to build a mine on this tile, like let's imagine that I had a functioning droid. It's like, okay, well, why didn't you just build a mine on this tile as well? It's because these things are going to go one at a time. Whereas if I build a mine here, and if I had enough to build a mine here, then I would have two mines coming online at the same time. As long as I had the energy to support them, that would basically be maximizing my resource extraction. So again, one of the things that this game has done, I know a lot of people complain about the sector system. It's not a bad system at all, because what it does is it takes a lot of tedious micromanagement out of your hands. Now with that in mind, there's trade-offs, right? Like I'm particularly neurotic when it comes to like managing my own stuff. So I kind of like the micromanagement side. But yeah. Hello, Albadon. All right. I think I'm done rambling for now. There's definitely more stuff to do. So there's like, I can fill out one priority I usually have is to sort of max out my fleet size, and there's upgrades that I can do to my spaceports and such. But I think what we'll do is we'll maybe just take things as they come. We're still sort of in infrastructure mode. Our most immediate conquest is to the north because we don't like these guys, and we can sort of start seizing. Different areas. But for now, I think we'll we'll work with the tiles that we have. I don't have any immediate worries about these guys suddenly becoming like insurmountable. So here we go. Obviously, one thing I should say about this too, I pause a lot during games like this, and I don't think it's a bad way to play. I mean, it's why I like pausable real time. There is no there's nothing for you, like, other than your own pride, to say it's like, oh, I'm doing like a no pause run or something like that. Like, you can let the game run. Right. Jabby Jazz, thank you very much for that follow. By the way, guys, I forgot to mention, we hit 1,500 followers, I guess on the back of Assassin's Creed 3, which sounds a little funny to say, but there you have it. So thank you, everyone. I'm always a little reluctant to talk about numbers, not because I don't think they're important. They are the most important thing in the world, and how dare you suggest otherwise? No. There is definitely a style of Twitch streamer, and I certainly don't intend to name names, but there's definitely a style of streaming which sort of reduces the audience down to a number, and I don't like that, and I think even in a lot of cases too, it's not how somebody specifically wants to come across so much as that's just you know, they want to achieve growth, they want to achieve certain things for the cast, and so it sort of comes off as being very numbers focused. But with that in mind, I also appreciate that milestones are fun to celebrate, people like to talk about them, and it feels good. It means a lot that you guys have given that show of support to say, you know, I like your stuff, I want to know when it comes back on. And whether you are brand new to the cast or whether you are one of the people who've been there from the start, and there are still a few of you who are still kicking around, which is crazy and deeply humbling. I did want to take a minute and say thank you for that, because it means a lot to me. And again, it's a very small number by pretty much any standard measure of Twitch. But then that is the difference between looking at an audience as, you know, that means to some kind of partnership end or something like that, or just being, you know, being something of an opportunity to say thank you for sharing these games with me and listening to me talk for so long. All right, so I'm back to the decision about how I want to spend 90 minerals. I don't think we have any immediately obvious candidates, like something that'll give me... So I mean, this 3... Actually, this is not a bad call because this is also inexpensive, so we can shore up my engineering. There's also a new follow system in place where people will people create an account and follow... Oh, get an account, follow a game, then recent casters of it are suggested as auto-follows. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about the auto-follow idea because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people who are like, who the hell is this nerd, and unfollow later. But I'll take it. Well, put it to you this way too, like, I think you'll know who I'm talking about if I give you the initials BD. Like, imagine I were to get that as like an auto follow. Like, I'd be kind of annoyed, right? Like, it's like, this is not what I signed up for. But anyways. This asteroid was evidently used as a junkyard by someone at some point in the distant past. All manner of discarded machinery and metallic refuse have been deposited inside the asteroid's weak gravity well, being slowly pulled into the jumble of debris that now covers the surface. There is nothing of particular value to be found here, but a lot of the metal could be salvaged by a mining station. We should recycle what we can. So I don't remember what science ship that was, but I think both of my science ships are pretty far out there. Well, we might wind up taking this planet. I mean, the 21's definitely a good size for a planet, and it's conceivably within our you know, our circle of influence. So, is this space communism fully automated? Not yet, Vikings World, but we're going to start colonizing a hell of a lot of planets soon, because I realized that you can use droids to colonize. I did not know that. And so I am excited by the... I'm excited by the prospect. Well, that's interesting. The star nation known as the Juran Galactic Nation has been destroyed by its enemies. How will this affect the political climate of the galaxy remains to be seen. So these guys are potentially emerged as a threat to me. They're still inferior, but they now have a similar... They have a similar naval capacity. Unfortunately, we did agree to a non-aggression pact with them. So, basically what's happened now is friendly neighbors of ours have been swallowed up by this other group. This means that I need to start sort of making some moves on my own in order to make sure that I don't get left behind. I mean, conquering something is a really great way of expanding your size rapidly. So again, I'm reconsidering my moves up to the north. But before we do anything, I'm going to see if we can get away with... They don't want to be vassalized, eh? Elkadu, thank you very much for that host. How are you doing? Well, not much we can do about swallowing them up. Let me just think about this for a minute. So again, vassalization is my ideal solution. We could try and go for some seeds, so maybe we'd say like the closest neighbors. See, the problem is that I don't think they inhabit planets that are similar to mine. Yeah, they go on arid worlds. And like I said, war is expensive, so so they don't have non-aggression pacts, they don't have any defensive. Well, let's just see. I'm gonna go war window shopping. Monday's over, you're enjoying System Decree while playing Everspace. I still don't know what Everspace is, but guys, Elkanu is a great French caster. He is the only French caster I know, but that doesn't stop him from being great. He is, I always like to say, he's one of my favorite variety casters. And it's one for his sense of humor and his sense of comic timing, because I think they are fantastic. But a little bit more importantly, one of the things that I love the most about his cast is just the pure love of gaming, the pure love of the subject that he's sort of taking on. It makes him, like, when he's streaming, it's very hard for me to turn away. I have to sometimes because I actually want to get things done. But for those times that I don't, have to turn away, I have a great time. He's a ton of fun to watch, and one of the original reasons why I started watching him, of course, was because I wanted to get a little bit better at my French. But since then, I have, I've just been able to enjoy. I've been able to enjoy his cast for what it is, and yeah, it's something else. He's really a very, like I said, a very gifted entertainer. He's somebody who, if you ever, especially if there was some kind of a sale going on, he would be a great caster to watch, just because he does such a good job of showing you everything about a game, whether it's good or bad. He will show you the things that you need to know to enjoy it. And it's a very rare talent. I don't think there's a lot of people who can quite pull off what he does. And I'm very glad that he does. So, all right. Oh, I also need to do some, I'm going to do a couple of adjustments here. Roguelike action shooter in space, elite dangerous, easy mode with roguelike elements. That sounds good. I've wanted to get back into Elite Dangerous for a while, but I'm just no good at it. All right, so what I want to do here is this. So I've got 2 Mishar who are currently working tiles that can be worked by droids. That's no good. That means that there is some energy generating tile, or there is some other tile that could be worked by somebody whose specialization is, is something like energy. It basically means that I'm not using my resources as efficiently as I can. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this Mishar. Oh, you know what? I guess I can't force the resettlement? Huh. I know I was able to do this earlier. So what if we did different, Okay, so I could switch it out with, Interesting. Alright, so apparently I can't resettle my, my Mishar. Fair enough. Alright, well, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I don't have to pay energy for those things to work. Anyways, one way or the other, it makes sense to build a mining network here. I'm losing 1 food, but this planet's already generating surplus. So this is the largest population this planet's ever going to have, right? So what this means is I can now free up basically 4 food tiles worth. I could technically just go and axe every single one of these food units. And I think I will do just that. How many minerals does this thing generate?
Construction complete.
I'm not 100% sure this is worth it, but I think I will do a mineral processing plant just to do a little bit of a boost to everything. So basically this this colony will be sort of self-sustaining. I'm obviously breaking my rule here and I'm just building everything on top of itself. But do as I say, not as I do. Impressive structures litter Impan 3A surface, practically begging for some archaeological work. Oh, and our colony ship is done. So, this has Mishar on it, which means that I want to be colonizing... I want to be colonizing a... I want to be colonizing something that that basically my people can live on. So the arguments here would be something within my borders, which is weak sauce. I can expand out. Again, the Gaia world is small, but it's a Gaia world, and it's near a spot where we're going to be contesting. The other question, though, is whether or not they're going to be brave enough to take on these creatures. So it might be an idea for me to just maybe drill down a little bit more on my own territory. I could also be really bold and head out to the... There was a... yeah, there's this big ocean world. But it's not obvious to me that this is... Like, so it doesn't have any real energy resources, which I'm not too keen on. So what I think we're going to do here is we're going to find which of these planets gives me better energy. So we've got 2 here. And we've got 3 here and more expansion opportunities. So it's not the last word, that's for sure. But I think we will colonize Vega. And where do I want to put my... So there aren't... I mean, there's a couple spots for an HQ. I think... So I don't like the fact that it's all food that's getting bonuses off of this, but like my other alternative is up here. Well, this isn't so bad though. Yeah, I think I will colonize there. Yeah, I was wondering why you were so eager in recommending it, Elkanu, just because I know, like, I see a lot of Elite Dangerous sort of memorabilia on your stream, but as far as I can tell, I don't think I've seen you stream it. Not all research into the faster-than-light communication channels produces useful results, but some outcomes may find new purpose in bringing our people together. So we now have the Hypercoms forums. I think that's a happiness thing. And the reason I paused was just because I wanted to take a quick look at what some of my options are. So there's Frontier Clinic. What that's going to do is give me some growth, but I don't really feel like that's quite worth it. And especially when I can get a bonus to core sector systems, and the fact that I'm going to be expanding a little bit more. This is expensive, but worth it in my view. So I am going to spend the 60 months on that. We're going to look for some more opportunities to... Oh, you know what? What's my fleet looking like right now? I think we lost audio. Because my headphones suck. I had to super glue my headphones into their spot, and unfortunately I think I've just tripped over them one too many times. They're definitely getting weaker, so. Alright, so 70 Corvettes, 14 destroyers. I feel like I can get away with one more destroyer. I don't know, so apparently there's a bit of a meta behind what ships to build. I know nothing about it. I just try to be, I try to sort of just go by when the technologies become available. But at some point, I mean, one of the main reasons is because I know I want to have fleet power. And then following that, what I want to do is when I actually go to war, that's when I sit down and think about what techs I'm bringing. It's why I don't upgrade my ships, because like right now I know I'm just sort of building some vessels which I'm going to upgrade a little bit later. And so in that case I don't feel that much of a compulsion to make sure that I quote unquote do it right. Impan 3A is uninhabited and indeed uninhabitable, but not unvisited. Its surface is littered with tall cenotaphs carved from some mineral not native to the planet. Evidently placed here by some artistically inclined spacefaring race, the monolith's flowing lines deftly chart a history so fantastical it must surely be fictional. Surely. So we can say they are beautiful and make digital reproductions of the monoliths widely available in our empire, or we can image them for the archives for an engineering boost. We are materialists, so we're going to say that we did it for the science. In the meantime, my science ship is out of things to do, so I'm just going to queue up a few more instructions for it. These are hostile, so I think probably the best thing for me to do is just do a fairly... I'm not going to... force it, but I want to do something of a deliberate path just so that I can get sort of an idea of what the boundaries of this empire is. And specifically, this almost certainly is an indication of another species. So I kind of want to work my way towards that. Hopefully I'll get a contact. And of course, we do, in terms of our traditions, gain research points equal to 1/10 of our monthly gain when surveying planets. It's one of the reasons why I've been pretty aggressive in pursuing that, in terms of pursuing that exploration. So, and as usual, we will just see what our options are in terms of building things. So it looks like our droids are done. The real question here is whether or not I want to put anything else into minerals or not. Where's my hypercoms forums?
System survey complete.
All right, so first of all, this planet's got 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we've definitely got more than enough food. Oh, well, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to build a power plant. Then we've completed research. So eventually I'm going to move this Mishar over onto the power plant because I don't want... This is something that a droid can be doing perfectly well. So if you take a look here, droids can colonize a lot of stuff. They're not good at engineering output, they're not good at physics, they're not good at society, they're not good at unity. They also can't generate much in terms of energy credits, but they're very good at getting minerals. So anytime that I have a Mishar working a mineral deposit instead of a droid, that's basically lost revenue. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to start building the droid. Ultimately what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace them like that, but there's no point in me doing that right now, at least not until I have the energy generation up. I said I was going to be getting some... All right, so we can do physics lab, we can do a shield capacitor, which will improve our shield regeneration. Could do advanced shields, which will give me even more defense. I mean, it's more costly. It's 72 versus 56, but this is definitely the better military option. I think we will be bold and go for that. It's mostly because I'm not 100% sure what my strategy is with this, so gives me a little more time to think. The one drawback with this is that I'm giving myself a big military advantage and not using it. And that's something that I think will potentially come back to harm me.
Colonization in progress.
Well, my phone just told me it's time for bed, but you know what, chat? I'm not going to bed. All right, let's take a quick look. Nothing we can do here. This is actually going to be a good example of a planet that I put into the sectors next, because Trappist is sort of... They've got what they need. There's nothing else that I can tell them to do. They're basically just going to continue doing their upgrades. So that's... I mean, again, there's no advantage to me throwing them into... There's no advantage to me like throwing them into a sector yet, because, again, there's nothing... Like, I'm not getting any penalties for having too many... colonies, but once this thing grows, I can basically hand over Trappist without too much concern. As per First Citizen Isabella Fabrini's mandate, additional research stations have been constructed, and the construction ship is... Oh, I need to spend my influence. All right, so there's a cap in terms of how much influence I can have. It's 1,000. So what I normally like to do is I think about the things that I don't have a lot of, i.e. energy, take a look and see basically who's generating the most. All right, Trappist is generating the most, but they already have capacity overload. So back to the menu. I think that was wrong. So simple 127, not too expensive. But in this case here, it's just a nice little dump, and it gives me it keeps me afloat in terms of some energy. So, but I do need to start thinking pretty carefully in terms of how I'm going to be building out, because technically what this means is I only have 5 more places that I can build these sort of satellites. Now this is going to change a bit once I give away Trappist as a colony. I'm no longer going to be responsible for managing its energy. And of course, once I finish colonizing, the other thing that's going to happen is I'm not going to have to pay the maintenance cost for having that colony. But for now, I mean, we're in a world where we're now down to 4 energy a turn. That's a pretty weak economy. Oh, So we've got an inactive building. This is because our Mishar keep running away from us. Or on us. Unfortunately, this is something I can only really fill with growth. So I'm just going to have to accept that this thing is idle. Looks like I've got another opportunity to make a droid. Also, droids should be working these tiles here, so let's change things up a little bit.
Anomaly found.
There's significant scarring on the surface of this world in a pattern that cannot be natural. From orbit, the massive rifts look almost like writing.
Anomaly found.
A Class 12 asteroid orbits this planet. The small planetoid's orbit appears to be too stable for its presence to be a natural occurrence.
Construction complete.
Alright, so we're just going to switch these things out. So again, this is just basically making sure that the tiles that should be producing sort of human-based things. Enchanted Jinx, thank you very much for that follow. I basically just want to try and make sure that as many things that the Mishars can work, that they're good at. I want to make sure that robots are taking care of that as much as possible. I may not be able to fit it perfectly because I don't have the right resettlement policy, but I'm definitely going to do my best to make sure that that I'm using my resources as efficiently as I can. Someone used a mining laser from orbit approximately 5,000 years ago to carve a large body of writing into the surface of Doria 3. The massive script covers a large portion of the planet's upper hemisphere and appears to be a short story chronicling the difficult life of an alien mercenary. So that will give us social research if we choose to colonize. It's not a bad planet. Oh, hang on, this is only 12. Sorry, I was thinking of this one. But again, we definitely are not short of colonization options. What I kind of need to do is I need to find a very sensible way of expanding out that one, doesn't bankrupt me, and two, still allows me to sort of meaningfully develop these colonies. Again, I'm a little neurotic when it comes to sort of setting up and managing things on my own. So what this sometimes translates to is a slower growth than if I just let the AI handle everything. But what it does mean is, like, kind of what I do, it's almost like, I don't know if the analogy of, like, private equity is really a good idea, but, like, you can think of this as almost like, I don't know, a failing restaurant or something like that. Like, some firm, like, comes in and, you know, they buy up the company really cheap, and, like, they fire, like, all the managers and stuff like that, and then they put some new benches and, like, just generally clean the place up, and then they sell it for the profit. And, like, the profit is the difference between what they paid for it, and sprucing it up and that, and what the new business was. I worked for a camera store that had something like that happen, and usually the people who take over are really weird, and they talk about being like high power, high energy management, and usually the businesses are not actually that successful when they get rid of it. Anyways, I'm not a real space communist, but I just don't I really don't like managers like that. But the idea here is that you set the planet up sort of roughly the way you think it should be run, and then you hand that off to the AI to continue managing. So, like, a great example would be let's take this system, right? So you can see it's more or less filled with all these droids and such. Now, you'll notice too, it has a power plant 3. That's something that the AI did. So what I'm doing is I'm giving them the basic buildings and saying, it's like, okay, well, you guys know what to do. Go have fun. And what I've done in terms of setting up my sectors, notice that I put them on pretty minimal taxes. So right now they're generating 17 energy and 85 minerals. So if I really wanted to improve my, my standing, I could actually tax them more. They've got a fairly healthy reserve right now. But what I'm doing right now is I'm letting them keep more, and that's mostly just so they can, it's mostly just so they can sort of do all that building on their own. And we're going to keep doing this. Like, we're going to just add a few more sectors in there. We're going to sort of seed these original colonies, and then, you know, the AI will be able to sort of build up and manage it. And eventually, once it becomes sort of sustained, once they've got all their upgrades done, and once they've sort of, another good example of what the AI is up to right now, you can sort of see some of these resources which haven't been worked yet. Well, the AI is taken its own construction ship, and it's building research stations and such on things like that. So these are all things that I just like getting the AI to do after I've sort of put it on the right path. So anyways, for some reason, someone has towed an asteroid into a stable orbit around Fuzhou 5. The massive engine sections and braking thrusters can still be found on the surface, although they have long since been rendered inoperable. Whoever did this also mined the asteroid for minerals, but these operations were seemingly abandoned shortly after they begun. So again, if I decide to explore it, I'll get some engineering for it. One thing that is sort of a condition for me colonizing planets is the potential for energy resources. This is why the Gaia world, it's small, but what it gives me access to potentially is the real treasure. Of course, I did just colonize Vega, you know, without before that other one. So it's you know, I am a little bit of a hypocrite on this, but all right. So let's take our drone friend. Let's just see roughly what we're building. Okay, so I think we've got 2 right now, so I'm gonna, we'll build at least 1 mining network here. That should balance us out food-wise for now. The real question, one thing I will do as an upgrade are anything that generate Unity. I usually just like having 1 per planet. But if I can get more Unity, that will mean more fancy upgrades for my people. All right, so it's just got to be Mishar here. This, unfortunately, is going to be largely a debtor in terms of food. I'm not too worried about that because, I mean, obviously we've got a good surplus. Oh, we can realign things. Unless I want to like convert one of these areas into a into a farm, but it doesn't make sense to do that, right? Like, it's not like every planet has to have has to balance the books completely. It's nice to have. I use that as sort of a guideline, but I don't bend over backwards to get it. I'm just going to pause quickly because we've got a science ship which is idle. Optical sensors isolate a cluster of shapes in the barren surface of Fuzhou 2 that could be buildings. So research that. Oh, okay. I just wasn't sure what to do with itself. Here we're going to build basic mine. All right, so we're breaking our colony. So this is not a bad example of some sort of long-term decisions that you sometimes need to make. So we're 49 months away from a bonus core sector system. But the important thing here is that I already have, like, so on TRAPPIST, let's just take a quick look at the planet, right? So first of all, you'll know that it's well populated just by taking a look at the surface. You can usually see the indications of Mishar activity on it. More importantly, like, you just need to take a look at it here, right? There's no more interventions I can do. The best I could really do is upgrade the spaceport once the time comes. But even then, like, I'm waiting to research a new technology for that. So the question is, what am I really gaining by keeping manual control over this? The answer is nothing. Maybe one improvement I could make would be to tell it, like, upgrade your farm so that you're, so that you're a net positive, but, like, that's whatever. Now, this is going to be a little tricky because this is generating a lot of energy. I might even go into a deficit for this because Trappist is a pretty big energy generator, but we can work with that at the time. We'll see what the effect is. The reason why you want to do this is if you go above the limit, right now the influence gain and the energy generation are at minus 10%. So, in truth, it's not the end of the world if you break one of those. If you break that limit, but again, it's just one of these cases where, like, I'm losing energy credits where I don't need to. More importantly, I kind of want to see what happens to Trappist when I add it into the. Okay, we're still positive. That surprises me a little bit, but. Anyways, so now we're back in shape. The AI is now responsible for taking care of Trappist. I can always add some more colonies too. I could add Magrum and Dratum, and I might eventually do that. I'll probably add Dratum before anything, just because that's going to take an expense off of mine. But one of the things I want to do again is I want to seed this colony with droids which can sort of, like, mine stuff before I add it to the sector. Similar story with Ziff, right? Like, one thing I do sort of want to do with Ziff as quickly as I can is wait, this isn't the one. I want to get it into like some state where it it sort of knows what it knows, like, where to put its pops and things like that. The silhouettes discernible from orbit are indeed buildings, and closer inspection will reveal them to be. Sorry. Let's try that again. The silhouettes discernible from orbit are indeed buildings, and closer inspection reveal them to be of an obvious martial nature. While abandoned for some time, though very recently on a galactic timescale, Science Officer Meredith Brinkman believes that the secrets of alien tactics may yet be exhumed from beneath the dust that covers the decaying barracks and looted armories. A special project may be issued to study the remains. Well, let's see what's involved. Sounds like a good deal. Don't disband, go to. Why can't I research this project? Scientist skill 2. Oh! My scientist is too dumb. Fortunately, they're not too far from a new level, so I think we're just going to get them to do some exploration. One tip that I'll give, I think this is probably... If it's not obvious, it's just very intuitive. All of your scientists will gain experience. However, they will gain experience at a lower rate if they're in a lab than if they're out exploring. So it makes sense, even if you have somebody who's better in a lab, you sometimes want to just put them on a ship. You sometimes want to put them, like, on a science ship just so they can get their levels up really quick, and then you put them back in the lab. It doesn't hurt to have sort of a rotation in place to make sure that they you always make sure you have people who are good at research just kind of going through the motions. All right, so in this case here, I think I'm just gonna straight up add this into the sector. Seems a little wasteful, but I feel wasteful. I think this might be in my... It is. All right. So this is more expensive. It cost me 90 to build, but in this case, again, I did point out that energy is one of my higher priorities right now. So I'm willing to pay up if it means that I gain access to some resources that I need. Also, it turns out that I didn't need to take Gorim in order to link my territory. It was capable of doing that on its own. There is a natural level of growth that happens. I think this has happened because Tium is growing in terms of its population. But again, you want to set yourself up for success where you can. So if the opportunity arises, I do sort of want to start taking these red planets, just because in the end, these are places where I can put droids to work. Even if I don't have species that I can actually put in play there, there's definitely some benefits that I can get. One thing that I think I am going to do, I'm going to build at least one. Oh, I can't build a droid ship because I don't have the energy credits. But when I can afford it, I do want to build one droid ship just so I can start colonizing things that are already in sectors or basically already in systems that I already have taken over. Main reason for that is so I can like it's sort of like a free upgrade. It's another place where I can just start churning out different sort of different workers and just get more tiles worked on. Again, the plan here is to take advantage of this very peaceful start and to basically leverage that for a really robust economy. So if I wind up in a situation where, again, I have this relatively weak neighbor, right? Even if my navy wasn't in full capacity, I'd be able to just spend so much money that I can sort of roll over them. So we received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that called themselves the United Jazgian Authority. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening to the communications of another empire that we are in contact with. These gentlemen are hegemonic imperialists, they're xenophobes, and they're fanatic militarists, so we don't have anything in common with them. Alien creatures, I speak on behalf of Grand Marshal Langrak, the undisputed ruler of the United Jazligan Authority. Respect our borders and keep out of our affairs, and perhaps our mighty fleets will refrain from visiting your wretched species. Our citizens send their regards. Exactly, Silly Pants. I'm glad you picked up on it. I mean, so some people call it, post-scarcity. I haven't read the culture novels, so I try to avoid sort of the jargon when I don't know how to use it appropriately. Oh my god, these guys are... I should just vassalize them to put them out of their misery. I wonder if I can... So I can establish a protectorate, turn the United Jazgian Authority into a protectorate. Protectorates have an independence guarantee from their overlord, pay 90% reduced tech cost. I don't think I really want to do that. I want to turn them into mine. It's because they're too weak. But yeah, so Silly Pants, the one of the things that I get so much out of Stellaris is the race building. I like coming up with a race, and so I just really liked the idea of taking, some of the old like Robert Owen style socialism, all these people who like were very well read and were well meaning, but then they get out to the frontier and they sort of realize that you can't get a whole bunch of academics and expect them to be able to chop wood and draw water. Like, it's really cool to talk about a utopia, but people still need to actually do the work. I was going to say, like, it's like, well, what if the real question about this one was that they didn't, what if they had the right idea and it just happens to be that because they didn't have proper automation, they weren't able to, they were, the only reason that didn't work out was because they didn't have something to take on the hard work. Whether you want to think of the droids as capital or whether you want to try and, and come up with some other story behind that. So that's kind of where I went with. It's certainly not an original science fiction idea, and I certainly did not intend to present it as such, but I always think it's fun to have sort of a through line behind what you're doing in a game. So, is this System Chalk, or have you been gone for a while? This is indeed System Chalk. Who else were you expecting, sir? How's it going, Mind God? Good to see you. All right, so I can do deep core mining, which will give me more minerals, which are always nice. So the division, here's the best way that I can think of the resources. Energy credits, I use them more than I do on most playthroughs because I have droids, and droids cost energy credits to create. So again, just like a factory, you spend a bunch of money, you get some machines, and it starts producing things for you. Similar idea there. Or you can do it the slow biological way. You meet a nice woman, you have a couple of drinks, you go home. A few years later, then you have something that can effectively work whatever tile you want. But basically, the idea here is energy credits should be supporting sort of your building of infrastructure. The best situation is where you are just constantly building and constantly growing. Sometimes you can't do that because you don't have enough energy credits. You don't necessarily, especially like this, you don't want it to go negative because you can't afford a lot of months without a surplus. But as long as you can manage that, minerals will be, so you can think of energy credits as supporting your activities, minerals are as the way of actually building and achieving what you're looking to do. Food, that's going to be affecting your ability to sort of grow your population. It's kind of a Malthusian story. Influence is your political ability, and unity has been added in the Utopia expansion. Basically, it's more sort of shaping the future of your species. Now, I'm in a little bit of a conundrum in terms of what I want to do. I think I'm going to bunt. I'm going to go for the fastest one to build. So that would either be Afterburners, which would take 28 months, or Deep Space Stations, which would take 38. So we'll do Afterburners. We'll get to draw the cards again, and we'll see if we can get anything a little more attractive. All right. Other thing I forgot to do, I got the tradition, which allows me to basically clear out tile blockers for free. And so that's what I'm doing. And while we're at it, let's build... Energy is what I need the most right now, so I'm gonna, even though it means giving up some sweet minerals, I wanna make sure that my Mishar are working on these tiles, which give me goodies. Actually, I can put them on here. Our initial scans have caught an irregular signal reminiscent of our own distress patterns. Research. And again, similar story here, just where I can, I build upgrades. I need to be a little more judicious just because of my, in terms of where I'm putting certain things, just because I want to make sure that I'm getting the most for sort of my placements. I guess I need to keep this guy here, but I normally like having droids on those spots. All right, so here's some good examples, right? We can build some basic science labs. It's going to cost me energy, but science is how I'm going to get past my current troubles. All right, so we already decided what that ding there was us getting our next level for Unity. We could, of course, unlock another one of these paths, but if you complete... So first of all, if you complete Discovery, research speed plus 10%. So that's a nice ability to have. We already have a nice big technological advantage, and if we can double down on that, so much the better. Excellent. Well, I'm glad things are going well. Like I said, I never take attendance for casts, so we're always happy to have you here when you can make it. And if things don't work out, that's fine as well. So this one's not a bad one to get anyway. Leader skill levels increased by 1. So basically everybody's getting smarter, and I don't need to worry about having like a skill 1 science officer sort of screwing things up again. But more importantly too, like once we get these last 2 levels, we're going to be able to unlock another Ascension perk. So we'll go for that right away. Just take a quick look on these guys. Everything's inferior, so I'm happy with that. The Hanmor are mad at the Juren. Who the hell are these guys? Oh. Looks like they either they were ascended or they broke off. The signal we intercepted was a distress call from a ship in orbit around Matsonia 5A. The ship is not giving away any heat signatures and seems to be drifting. A special project can be issued to investigate what has happened to the crew. Intriguing. All right. And after that, I think we had you researching so you could... So the one thing I will say for this playthrough is I've been screwing up a little bit in terms of taking advantage of my military. Like what I really should be doing is like moving in and just stomping these guys. But like I said, war is expensive. So I kind of want to try and build out as much as I can before I finally say, all right, I like that territory, it's mine now. The crew of the ship has been found dead. What is more disturbing is that they appear to have been killed by some highly advanced brain parasites, which infested them and drove them mad. Thanks to Science Officer Meredith Brinkman's findings, we were able to protect our own crew from being infected. Gained 150 society research. All right. So we'll build another power plant. Not an ideal spot, but this is giving me a little bit more food. You'll notice that I'm not quite sitting on the happy surplus that I had before. So... a little bit of a decision to make now, so... definitely build at least one more energy. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build at least one more energy grid, a hydroponics farm. Oop, we just lost a scientist. All right, so I've got level 3 here, a level 5 here, so I think it makes the most sense. So we're going to do a little bit, we're going to do 2 reshuffles. So this guy is going to get out of engineering. The reason why we did that is so we can free this up. So our former pilot is an expert in rocketry, which means that they're going to get yet another bonus. So where it was 25% with Ivan Ostrowski, we're getting a 35% bonus. So this is now just 23 months away. Again, it's not because I particularly like afterburners. It's just, it's nice to have because they're cheap to make, and I can, you know, I can get another draw at the deck fairly early on. But what this does mean is one of my science ships now needs a new leader, so we'll recruit. We've got a few different options. Usually what I like doing is going for the youngest because they last the longest, and it doesn't look like any of these abilities are really exciting me too much, so I think it makes most sense to just follow this rule. For 33.5, I get a skill 2, and they only start rolling the dice for death at age 82. So this guy has got a good 50 years in him.
Construction complete.
All right. I think I'm gonna take advantage of... so I've got a pretty big surplus right now. I'm going to take advantage of this to upgrade a bunch of sort of planetary capitals. Notice that wipes out my surplus pretty quickly, though. But we'll get it back. I mean, 80 a turn is nothing to sneeze at, so... And again, the important thing, what I'm really trying to do here is just making sure that on everything but my capital world, I see activity going on here. I do, like I said, I do need to eventually get my energy back on track. But that will eventually start sorting itself out. And in some cases it'll be just because the because the AI manages the planets this way. I think what we'll do. So we're short on energy. So it makes sense that my next colonization target should be energy focused. So Stenlar wasn't going to give me much. I think this is the time that we go for the Gaia world. It does mean I'm not going to have enough money to... I'm not going to have enough money to actually upgrade my fleet before I go after these, but maybe we'll just like get rid of some of the weak ships and then...
Situation log updated.
And then, I don't know, we'll just build new ones or something like that. But I think the Gaia world, again, on its own is not very impressive, but it does give us access to some good tiles to build energy platforms on. So we've encountered some form of alien vessel on the Zanbar system. These strange objects have been flagged Zanbar. Until we can learn more about them, we should proceed with caution. Well, after successfully translating their language, we have established communications with the independent space station of the Curator Alpha Enclave. Greetings, Star Travelers. We are the Curators. Our ancient order was established aeons ago by various galactic powers and ascendancy at the time. We are dedicated towards the preservation of all knowledge in an effort to safeguard the galaxy from descending into yet another dark age of mass extinctions and barbarism. We failed. Few of us remain today, but we are no less committed to our sacred mission than our predecessors were. We're willing to share some of our knowledge with you for a price. Well met. Alright, so we're back to max... We're back to max influence, so what we want to do here is just take a quick look at our output. They're already on capacity overload. So basically what I want to look for is, when I do this, I look for the planet that is generating the most energy on its own, and then I hit it with capacity overload because that's percentage based, right? So what you want, of course, is something that actually, so there's one thing that I'm doing wrong about this, which is I should be looking at the amount that's being generated, not the amount that is the surplus. Because of course, if all of my energy output is duplicated by, so like let's say I have 10 power plants or something like that, that's going to be, and they're matched by mining output, which is, taking up all that energy. I'm still going to generate more out of that 10% than if I had like one power plant. But again, like, sometimes when you see stuff like this in a game, like if you spend all your time looking for those like twitchy little efficiencies, you just wind up spending a lot of time on things that don't necessarily give you the payoff that you were expecting. At least that's my justification. So, again, not terribly excited about building a droid. I am still short on energy credits, but I want to fill up as many of these tiles with resource producing things. Another way of thinking about this is, it's not bad to save things when you need them, but it does represent sort of like dead resources, right? If you're not churning through your minerals, if you're just watching them pile up, you're accomplishing nothing. You could be turning that into a fleet. You could be turning that into a mine, right? Everything that you produce is going to give you a return. But if you just keep it as a stockpile, it's not going to give you any kind of return. So that's why you see me like always trying to fill up these bars on the side. Science Officer Meredith Brinkman's thorough xenohistorical analysis of the military installation on Faijiao 2 has yielded few tangible results. The base was constructed before the planet turned completely barren, but it was unclear if its current inhospitality is a result of armed conflict or some more peaceful event or even a natural process. What can be deduced from their strategies and tactics in armed conflict does not seem to have been far in advance of our own. On the upside, Science Officer Meredith Brinkman claims to have drawn much inspiration from the alien remnants. So in this case, the science ship. So this is going to be somebody who's good at 2 branches of research now, which is a nice thing to have. But I don't need to put them in the lab yet. So we're just going to get them searching out. Right now, I'm mostly just sort of filling out, I'm just sort of filling out different roles. I went a little crazy on this. I probably should have. Wait, did I really build an energy grid? I think that was a mistake. Yeah, I don't have the power plants to support that. I might as well keep it, but that was kind of dumb of me. This is going to be the next one that I give to the sector. But yeah, so we're going to build another droid here. And then the question is whether or not I let the planet... Well, no, if I'm... Yeah, you know what? I'm not making any sense right now. So we need a droid working this. I can move this Mishar up here. I shouldn't be building this hydroponics farm. I should be building a power plant. Yeah. And I'll build a droid there shortly after. Right, construction ship. We've got some more energy. I think we can do the same thing here. I don't want to spend all of it on stations, so we'll just build one energy station here. Debatable that I actually want to do this because I might colonize with droids, but again, my energy is fairly low right now, so I don't... I want to be getting the 2 per turn. Like, mineral, this is a month's worth of minerals that I'm spending on that. It's very inexpensive for me, and it's going to give me several turns worth of energy. So even if I, like, the next colonization I make is, like, droids here. It's not going to be, by the way. It's going to be, Ibaka. But, I think it would still be worth it just because I need the energy, basically. All right, so decision time. Do I want to upgrade the base or do I want to build another colony ship? Well, I did say I was going to be giving away another colony soon, so I think what we'll do here is we'll build another colony ship. Ooh. Let's cancel that. What just happened there? So if I say I want a droid, what do I pay? I pay nothing. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Now that I know that, so I'll take a Mishar on board. So it seems that I don't pay for the energy for the drone. What that means then...
Construction complete. System survey complete.
I think what I'll do... I'll start by colonizing these, because they're already in the sector. Then we colonize... I know there's one... There's like one with a planet that I can't touch. Anyways, I know there was like one system... Oh, it was Trappist. So again, it's like there's a planet which a Mishar can't colonize, but a droid's perfectly happy on. So once I have the minerals for that, I think I'm actually going to go a little colonization happy and put some bodies on there. And I mean, again, if the sector winds up making some like daft choices in terms of what they put on those areas, I'm not too worried about that because like in the end, I'm not paying anything on my colony cap. Alright, where did I say I was going to be building droids? Nope, nope, you need to do real work. Alright. So I might need another droid here. Definitely need another droid here when I can afford it. I need a lot of droids here, actually. No more droids. I'm just going to build science. I have the money for it, so I might as well just... Yeah, this one's definitely going to get spun out as a... new colony soon.
System survey complete.
This also needs another droid. I'm poor. Alright. I'm going to make a really foolish decision as far as my energy is concerned, but I'm going to make another colony ship with a droid on it. I want to do a pilot project on Trappist.
System survey complete.
I think all of these planets are full, so I don't get to see what happens if I don't.
Construction complete.
I'm trying to see if I can... God. Alright. I'm going to go take this in order again. Nothing I can do on my home planet. This planet, I'm already building a droid. This planet needs a droid somewhere. This planet needs no droids. Does need a science lab. Ziff needs droids. Building a droid. Vega needs droids. Is not building a droid. Okay. Priority number 1. Droid time. Colony ship. Alright, this was the Mishar one. Alright, so I've got a little bit to do here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take the second strike force and we are going to kick some ass. This is going to cost me a lot just in terms of the fact that I'm moving these guys out of orbit. I get a discount to their expenses when they're docked. Fortunately, I do have the money to afford their adventure, though. So. So I need to start working on my robot workforce on this planet next. I'm not moving the colony ship just because this will be expensive to maintain. So I've got a few things to go up against. I don't fear any individual stack, but if they gang up on me, they do overpower me. So what I want to try and do with these Ruby Swarms, this is going to be just a bit of a test run for this fleet. I'm probably going to try and take this stack first, see what happens. I might even head back and repair, take the next stack, basically just kind of one at a time. What this is also going to allow me to do is use my science ship to do a little bit of investigation in the places that it's safe. Let's get you building some research stations. And in an uncharacteristic move for me, well, for at least a little while at least, I was going to speed things up. But. Alright, afterburners are done, so we can do another level of mining network. We could do advanced spaceports, which is not bad. Don't really need fusion missiles because we're sort of committed to our kinetics. I could improve my mineral storage capacity, but I'm always spending it, so I don't really need that. So it seems to me that the advanced spaceport is not a bad not a bad choice in this case. It does improve my naval capacity. It'll allow me to do some upgrades in my existing areas. As you can see, I've sort of fallen behind on my naval capacity again, but we'll get that taken care of sooner rather than later. So much stuff to build. If you're wondering why I'm not developing these tiles, it's just because I want to keep an eye on my food. So I'm sort of taking advantage of that while I can.
System survey complete.
And then, I mean, eventually I'm going to have to make a decision about it, but the idea is that I'll sort of build out my existing resources. You know what? I can afford to build some more ships. So let's do, 88, we'll do another destroyer. I'm only going to speed up so it can get into the system, and then we'll see where the adventure takes us. All right, this is a little unfortunate that we've got 2 idle colony ships now. I can... Well, hopefully this was good audio for some wall cleaning. All right, just in time, we've got a ship that's available. So we're going to be a little careful about how we navigate this one. So we're going to move around like this. And then we're going to move away from our evasive stance. So the idea here is that there's nothing in this area that's going to kill our science ship. What it's going to be able to do is navigate into...
Hostile fleet engaged.
All right. We're going to be able to navigate into an area that we can start investigating some ships with. So I want to see what the reaction of some of these creatures are to my aggressive maneuver. The ideal situation will be that they sort of go stack by stack, so I can attack, then sort of repair, then attack, then repair, so on and so forth. We've detected life signs coming from somewhere beneath the barren and lifeless surface of this planet. What manner of organism could possibly live there? All right.
Construction
So
complete.
they are on their own. I was hoping to do a little bit of work with the
Construction complete.
colony ship, but you know what? We don't get an opportunity to see a fight like this very often, so...
Situation updated. Construction complete.
Alright, so we lost 1 destroyer and 1 corvette for our troubles. We will rebuild. So yeah, I think we're just going to do a very conservative strategy here of just taking the big stack that we can, heading back. You know, there's no prize for doing this fast. And I will preserve as many of my ships with that strategy. All right, now as far as the droid colony ship is concerned, let's go over to Trappist. And...
Construction complete.
all right. I mean, not ideal, right? But we'll get we'll definitely free up some space soon. Or sorry, we'll sorry, not free up some space, but we'll get one more Mishar in there to work soon. I don't think there's anything else I really want to do with this planet. It's debatable even if I really want to just, like, it would sort of make sense for me to just shuffle this off into the sector and just get on to colonizing again, but I do have some building to do, so, and I just generated more. All right, at this point, I pretty much have to go for some cheaper war demands. I mean, ecological adaptation allows us to terraform inhabited planets. That's kind of tempting because I'm currently on some planets which are not ideally suited for my species. But the idea here is that interstellar campaigns is potentially going to allow me to vassalize these guys to the north. Take a quick look at that. So vassalization right now is 104, so it's gone up a little bit. But 25% reduction, they're going to have to grow very quickly in order to be able to do something with that. In fact, I'm so excited by this prospect that we are going to assign our best researcher. So this here, Spark of Genius, is just a 10% increase. Now this person's going to have a chance of dying each, basically each turn because they're now age 84. But for as long as we have them, they're going to be working on that. Silicon life forms. Some kind of burrowing silicon-based life form inhabits a vast network of tunnels underneath the barren surface of Mesharthim 2. As best as we can tell, these creatures feed off rocks, and there is evidence to suggest that they possess a rudimentary form of intelligence. Their tunneling efforts have shuffled large amounts of valuable minerals to the surface. So, +3 to minerals if I decide to take it. It's a little far away from this planet that I want to take here, but I mean, again, we've freed up some space on the colony cap, and we're probably going to have 2 new spaces coming up. So realistically, as long as I think I can support them, I think I could get away with 3 new colonies. One will be on the Gaia world. I should probably be building another colony ship soon. But it is worth remembering that I am going to have to pay 8 energy for each new colony I set up, so no reason to rush. Also, I'd like my fleets to get together if they can. All right, let's do 2 corvettes. So I think we lost 1 destroyer, 1 corvette. So we're now up to, this will be 89. Should probably do a 3rd corvette. And then we'll do 1 more destroyer. Gotta wait a little while for that, though. The Hulfir League will send me 42 minerals in exchange for an active sensor link. Don't really need the minerals, though, so... One thing I will say, so I'm tempted to use this colony ship just to... you know, to take another planet like the like Fujidao. Actually, you know what? I've got the space for it, so I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I didn't realize that I had so much energy available, so I'm still going to be able to afford to make another colony ship. And I think
Construction complete.
this is as good of a place as any. This is a fantastic place, by the way, because I'm going to be able to build a special generator, which will give me 10 energy. So this is a very high priority, location for me. Oh, please don't survey the system. Survey planets. This is about as close as well, okay, if I can research this, then I can research. I'm definitely playing with fire on this, though. If any of these things decide to get a little uppity, I'm in for a bad time. Alright, so our fleets are repaired. Got new shields. Alright, so we've got some decisions to make here, because all of these are pretty good. The Energy Nexus will be helpful, not so much for its bonus on energy credits, but the fact that one of the traditions that I plan on getting soon, I get some unity from having those. So let's just, again, whenever you're unsure about what to do in a game like this, you always, it's like I've sort of been saying every time I play this, the cost of your decision is what you give up in order to obtain it. So, governing ethics attraction, plus 10% if we can find a source for Strathmine gas. I mean, this is not a bad thing to get. It's 26 months as opposed to 47 months. Hyperlane mapping will give me some information on enemies. I actually think the chance that I'm able to get this is worth it, just because it's like I do have some pacifists who are coming up in my society. I don't want to embrace pacifism. In the meantime, first thing I want to do is make another colony ship. That's going to leave me without my other Corvette, unfortunately. But again, I'm getting my priorities in order, because the whole reason why we're going on these military adventures are to... Oop, a colossal impact crater hints at something big collided with the surface of this planet once. Research it. The whole reason we're doing this is to be able to get this Gaia planet. So as long as the strike force is in shape to take them on, which will happen when these guys are in here, I should be pursuing that goal.
Colonization in progress. Incoming transmission.
Migration Treaty. The Mishran people should not be prisoners of the Mishar Cooperative, and neither should our own people be limited to inhabit our territory. Let us agree to remedy this. I do agree. Now, this kind of interests me. And this is because I didn't think... This species lives on desert worlds. I live on sort of like Earth worlds. I can't remember the name of it. Continental worlds. So I think what this means is they're attracted to the idea... Oh, this is really good for me, actually. So Trappist Secundus. Yep. Alright, so this actually... Hello, Unknown Brigade. This is fantastic news for me, because what I've done is I've done a migration treaty, and what's going to happen is that if they like it, there are going to be aliens from that civilization that come and like live with my people, and I don't pay anything for it. They just like, none of my people will want to live on the worlds that they colonize. So this is all upside for me. This is actually, that's a fantastic deal for me. Why would they be so foolish? All right. Again, I want to prioritize robots doing robot work. I'm tempted to build some energy resources, but all right, on Ziff, definitely got some places I can get some droids to do some work. Oh, I'm out of minerals. It's a rare occasion. Massive crater on Ibaka 7 appears to have been the result of a collision with a starship. From the size of the crater, we suspect that a ship traveling at full warp rammed into the planet for reasons unknown roughly 10,000 years ago. If the ISS Acuity has picked up the residual subspace echoes near the crash site reminiscent of a collapsed warp field, but as the ship itself disintegrated on impact, the theory could not be verified. Mars King. JKV Logs Kingdom, thank you very much for that follow. I'm sorry I did a bad job with your name. You should see me in the Animus for Assassin's Creed 3. Regardless of my butchering of your name, I definitely appreciate you showing that support. It means a lot. Alright. Sorry I pause all the time, by the way. I don't like I don't like having wasted resources. So, what are my immediate options for upgrades? I do like prioritizing science. It's mostly because that's the least expensive for me right now. But I think a lot of that is starting to... I think I'm hitting diminishing returns on a lot of these, so... Anyways, that'll keep it busy for the next little bit. Got some ships on their way. How are we? So we're one Corvette away. We'll do another destroyer before too long. Let's just see. I mean, my minerals really should be used for droids at this point. Fortunately, the planets that need the droids are building them, so I'm in reasonably good shape there. So I think we'll just hang tight on those. The second fleet looks like they're all... Are you guys not in the same... Oh, you're just getting out of warp speed. And we're back to being oversaturated on our influence. So we do the same. It's just the same little algorithm as we normally do. We just sort things by output. This is also a nice way of just finding. So like if Tiam didn't have the edict, it probably wouldn't be at 36. But like if you feel like you're missing something on this list, it's not a bad little check. Now again, there's other ways you can do this. So Oros is my most likely candidate because it's generating about something like 36 around that. It says it's getting 16, but that's the net amount. What's the next highest one? 10. But in this case, it's generating 10. It's not actually paying anything. So this is a nice shorthand. Usually, oh, and it's already got a capacity overload, so screw that. It's usually a nice shorthand for what your highest producer is. Am I sick? No? Do I sound sick? I might have just been talking too much. Oh, or is this a throwback to what I said to Jess? Okay. So we're generating 6... My voice sounds a bit broken. Oh dear. Well, fortunately, people are still following, so... So the real question here is, do I want to... Seeing as I've already built this energy grid, which I wasn't going to anyway, I think I am going to make this a pure Mishar world. So we've got all the drones that we want on this planet. Oop, the Acuity has finished its jobs. I really don't want to take this thing any closer, so I think this is just going to hang out for a little bit. I have, in the meantime, been completely asleep at the switch and leaving my angry fleet.
Construction complete.
All right. We'll wait one more month and then we'll just build the...
Anomaly found.
Oh, we've got one Corvette as well as one... as well as a destroyer. So, Corvette first. Or sorry, destroyer first and then the Corvette. And I think what we might do... Extreme storms. Puncherized one has frequently experiences massive and extremely violent storm systems in its atmosphere. Several dozen persistent storms are visible from orbit, with winds often reaching speeds in excess of 700 meters a second. The cause of these storms is not immediately apparent, as we have found nothing in the planet's climate model that would explain them. Our scientists are interested in studying this anomaly. You know, this was the worst time for me to do this, but I think I'm going to quickly research this. Oh, I've already got somebody researching it. Never mind. Just hang out. The good guys are on the way, so we will slow things down a bit. This time we're going to get a proper view of the... So I expect to lose quite a few ships in this, if I'm completely honest. We lost two... We lost two in the fight that... Oh, hang on. We lost a governor. I should start replacing these, but I will wait a little bit. That might be a good way to dump some of my... Might be a good way for me to dump some of my surplus. Great looking game, huh? I can't wait to watch this thing go down. Oh, it's a big cluster, never mind. No, there's gotta be like a big capital ship in there. Rouge Lake Girl has been feeling the effects of her move. Alright, so we lost 5 destroyers on that one and 1 corvette, so we definitely have got our work cut out for us as far as bringing ourselves back up to capacity. Do you have a science ship that will be able to take advantage of... You're kidding me. There we go. We received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that called themselves the Great Oxbraxy State. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications with another empire that we are in contact with. They are evangelizing zealots, they're authoritarian, xenophobic, and spiritualists, so everything we stand for they are opposed to. I speak on behalf of the Great Oxbraxy State, and I come with a message for your depraved species. As long as you stay out of our internal affairs and treat our great leader, Lord Protector, Philax with reverence, there may yet be peace between our nations. I'm gonna give it with both barrels. Sorry, with both barrels. Alright, most important question. Can we afford to be antagonistic with these guys? Yes, they are pathetic. Declare a rivalry. Now where are these clowns? Oh, way on the other side of the universe. Yeah, they are not a concern. Alright, in the meantime, we'll also queue up some more surveys. Got a lot of destroyers to rebuild. Now surely I can... Oh, you know what? They're doing that because I declared a rivalry with them. So they are... They don't want to rival me in reply, so they are just... they're being nasty and closing their borders on me. Am I building droids? I am not building droids, so... Building droids is quickly becoming a #1 priority on the planets that aren't doing it. Ah, there we go. Sensor echoes have indicated the presence of some kind of unidentified object deep within the atmosphere of this gas giant. So there's not a whole lot that I can do about this inactive buildings. It's just because the pop that grows on that tile usually likes to migrate away. So unless I want to like force them, like there's nothing I can really do about it. So I should start thinking about what the next couple of moves are. So I've got a colony underway here. Looks like we were pretty successful with the Trappist experiment. And in this case, it looks like the AI's making... Like, the AI's already making its own decisions in terms of populating it. So, like, this is like the least amount of effort that I need to put into maintaining colonies like this. This is fantastic. The ISS Pathfinder has picked up a strange energy signature coming from somewhere deep inside the atmosphere of Pythia 2. It appears to originate from a structure of some kind, possibly the remains of an orbital station, but the atmospheric pressure makes it impossible to approach. Nevertheless, scans of the unique signature have yielded a large amount of valuable physics data. So I think for now, I am gonna focus on rebuilding my navy. There's a couple of important things that are gonna happen fairly soon. All right. So we got our refining done. I really have some decisions to make. I think a warp drive 2 makes sense now. It's one of the less expensive of my options. I'm not really going to use the UV laser, although it's definitely a nice option because that gives me, like, so kinetic weapons are good at just absolutely shredding shields, whereas UV lasers basically pretend that armor isn't there. So a nice mix of kinetic and UV and lasers would basically be able to dominate anything that I go up against. But in this case, I think the fact that I have a big empire and I'm not able to traverse it that quickly is a source of concern for me. So in this case, I'm going to put this towards a warp drive 2. It's a shame because the guy would get a 35% bonus on it, but I think this is the right call to make. I am trying to be careful in terms of how many do we have? Actually, you know what? I'm just going to say that these gets these for free. So we're going to have 85. How many do I want? I guess I'll just I'll do, let's say, 4 more of these, so that'll take me to 91. I mean, I might as well do 5 more in that case. Oh, I'm paused. It's just going to take me a really long time to make them. Well, we did take out the biggest of the stacks. So yeah, I think I'll build like 5 more of these things, 5 more destroyers, 1 more corvette, and then just replace whatever I lose. Oop, but I need to use my construction ship to do slightly more productive things than hang around. And we've got advanced spaceports, which means I'm going to be needing a lot of minerals pretty quick. All right, I think, so it's kind of tempting to go for the cruisers. That's going to take 55 months. I think we'll do defense. See, the only reason I don't want to do this is going to take me a long time, and I've got a lot of work ahead of me in terms of upgrading these spaceports. And every time I upgrade a spaceport, I'm going to have to rebuild the Navy and so on and so forth. So in this case, I'm gonna bunt, and I'm just gonna go for the deep space station just as kind of like an intermediary move. It's mostly just because I don't want to exhaust myself sort of trying to fill all of these self-imposed goals. I'm even having trouble sort of like getting my planets in order the way that I want them to be. So I do kind of need to just step back. I need to be a little less relentless in the colonization. Or sorry, I want to be relentless in colonization, but I need to be a little less relentless in terms of pursuing all of these kind of construction and military goals. Although again, I always want to keep an eye on these guys and make sure that they are in fear. See, their technology levels evened out.
Construction complete.
We got 14 months, and then we'll see if we can vassalize them. I should basically declare war right away, because our strongest. Just taking a look at it, the most pessimistic scenario is that they're even in our spaceport technology, which means that it's 1.6k that we're up against. So unless they've got like 3k worth of fleet kind of in their back pocket, we don't need to worry so much about them. Now, we haven't put anything towards an army. That's a big concern for me. But again, you can't really land an army if you don't have a navy to take care of things. So even if I just run around and like blow up all their, if I just run around and like blow up all of their spaceports, that'll still kind of put me ahead. Yeah, I've got 4 spaceports to build. Jesus Christ.
System survey complete.
All right, let's decide what the next phase of exploration looks like. We should probably find out a little bit more. This is the most logical expansion candidate, so we should probably find out a little more about this. But as always, I kind of follow a bit of a broad arc on these things. All right, I think these guys are just sitting idly now. So again, we'll just speed everything up so they can get together. Construction ship. I don't really want to use these colonizable planets because I'm probably going to wind up putting people on them pretty soon. So, but we probably have, I don't have any of that energy, huh? A pity. I think we'll just go for the... One of the main reasons I'm doing the research stations are that they're relatively inexpensive. Oops. Sorry guys, I'm really not on top of things with my mouse. I think I'm just a little tired, so I'm not gonna pack it in early if I can avoid it. But I'm definitely sort of feeling the lack of sleep. Where's the third strike force? Space bounty. While an asteroid falling on your planet can be nerve-wracking, Trappist Secundus has been rather fortunate. No harm has befallen the colony. We must find a way to stop this. Asteroid defense system, recent impact modifier added. Oh my god. Trappist Secundus. Now, I believe this is the one that is... I believe this is the one that's colonized by robots. So it kind of sucks that there's not going to be a lot of migration. Okay, so it'll be minus 5% happiness. Luckily, the asteroid did no damage and has deposited some useful materials in the surface. Or our people will endure this harsh environment. And plus 4. I mean, they're droids. What? Currently moving an entire desk across the room with a... Good lord, Rouge Light Girl. Oh god, I've I've been wasting a lot of resources. All right, so faith and science. We're going to need to make some decisions here. So this is basically just wrapping up the discovery branch. We also have influence that we need to spend. So I think we'll just do the old trick. Oros probably already has capacity overload. They do. They have capacity overload. So the question is whether or not... Well, Vega is roughly around the level that... So yeah, we'll do capacity overload for this one as well. Next up, Ascension perks. So, again, it's worth taking a look here. Once we start getting to the next levels, so there's gene tailoring, engineered evolution, the flesh is weak, mind over matter. So basically some of these have dependencies. So let's just take a look at the ones that have dependence. So in this case, evolutionary mastery. Evolution is a single-minded beast that follows a single path to its inevitable conclusion. We cannot afford to limit ourselves thus. Let us explore all paths simultaneously. So this will give +3 points, trait points, modify species special project cost, -25%, and tech research option granted genetic resequencing. And to do that, I would need to select this one. So it looks like... All right, synthetic evolution. It's time to abandon the flawed organic vessels that imprison our minds. By transferring our neural patterns into synthetic bodies, we will achieve a higher state of being. So this is interesting given the fact that we started off as a... that we did start off with sort of robot. I mean, this is a very logical conclusion to the story of this species, that they finally unify with their tools. So we would need to pick this Ascension perk. This is why I'm spending the time to look at this, because you do, like, if you want to follow some of these paths, you do need to consider some of the dependencies. So only 2 Voidborn or Galactic Wonders. Neither of which we seem to be able to... Oh, it's right here. All right, so let's think a little bit about what we get. So if we do synthetic evolution, robot maintenance costs go down, so that's a really big one for us. Robot build speed goes up 25%. That's definitely something that will work well for us. What would we give up? Well, first we would need to pick flesh is weak. Well, that will already improve our robot maintenance costs, so that'll be a big shot in the arm to our economy. The limits and constraints imposed to us by our feeble organic bodies are simply unacceptable. To reach our full potential, we must return to cybernetic implants. World Shaper will give us a bonus to terraforming, which we haven't been doing yet. Interstellar Dominion, 25% bonus to border range, which is really tempting. But again, we can already extend our borders just by building some new colonies. Technological Ascendancy and 10% bonus to research speed, not bad, but is this, does this really benefit? In terms of what we're looking at in terms of robot maintenance, it should tell me here. Well, pop maintenance -21. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to include the biological, assuming that there is an energy cost for that. So maybe it's not as big as I thought it would be, but I'm going to build a few more of them. I don't know, I just really like the idea of this, the flesh is weak. Imperial Prerogative +5 to core sector systems, but like I said, I was going to be tamping down a bit on my expansion ambitions. One Vision's also very tempting because of the bonus to Unity output, so that'll bring us closer to our next pick. So let's take one last look here. So we go down synthetic evolution. Is there anything else that we can do with that? Not really. So what I'm really looking at here, like if I go down the flesh is weak path, it's mostly just in terms of getting some advantages. But the robots have been a pretty good specialization for us, so I think we are going to go for the flesh is weak. Let's see what happens to my energy credits. 5's not so bad. We now possess both the technology to make advanced cybernetic implants and the means to mass produce them. Medical centers throughout the Mishar cooperatives are standing by to begin the surgical grafting process on our citizens. In the future, possessing neural implants, or at least a rudimentary level of cybernetics, will be necessary to function in the technological society that we are building. Consequently, the conversion process to install basic cybernetics suite will be mandatory and free of cost to all of our citizens. We must embrace this technology.
Situation log updated.
And so we begin. It is a fool who persists in clinging to a worn, decrepit instrument when a more efficient alternative presents itself. We now possess the technology to make cybernetic implants available to the population of the Mishar Cooperative at large. Our citizens will be stronger, faster, and more intelligent as limbs and organs are replaced with improved mechanical versions. This is the sort of stuff I really like about Stellaris. I mean, you don't have to pick this if you don't want, but clearly there is so much contained in that description. And it says a lot about this particular species and the path that it's going down. This is sort of one of these points where it's like, yeah, there's really no going back after this one. And these are the things that I like. And again, like, you can play this game like it's just one big, spreadsheet, right? There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what interests you, then you should play it that way. But to me, it's always been this wonderful canvas on which to tell these science fiction stories, and I get a lot out of it. All right, we just elected a new leader who looks like it was one of my researchers. So Dukovsky Buhari has been elected as Chancellor of the Mishar Cooperative. I have a feeling they've got a research mandate, but let's see. Yep, orbital research mandate, so we should be able to fulfill that. It does mean, though, that I need to find somebody new for the lab, so... I hate to pull somebody off this early, but... And yeah, this is pretty much an exploration geared individual. Now, if the third strike force would be so kind as to hurry up. I can spend influence to make sure that the people who I want get elected, which means like I don't lose my scientists, but I've never really felt like that's a great use of my influence points. I'd rather like get the bonus to Endors. My goodness, I was really hoping people wouldn't subscribe again until I had some better animations for that, but guys, this is actually worth mentioning here. So first of all, I really do apologize for not having a better animation. I've got animations for follows, I've got animations for everything else, but the subs kind of came out of nowhere, so I don't have any emotes, I don't have anything along these lines. There have been a few of you who've subscribed, which I appreciate a lot. I will do my best. I have definitely committed not to rushing it. But I do want to come up with something good for emotes and stuff like that. So I will definitely be working on it. But anyways, guys, I did mention there were some people from the cast who I said like have been there from the very start, and Endors is one of them. Endors was here, if memory serves. I was playing Gods Will Be Watching, which is a fantastic game, and he stopped by, and I kept seeing Craigasms with the voice, and I guess he just hasn't figured out that there are better channels around. So it actually means a lot. I mean, like I said, I can't say I prefer one sub to another. But it's really gratifying to see somebody who's been there so long to, to take that next level. It's really nice to see somebody who's been there. Endors was one of the very last times when I was casting to an empty, an empty chat. I think pretty much after Endors found the channel, either he was in there or eventually people sort of started seeing the channel and started watching. So I would usually have somebody to interact with. So Endors is one of the few people who got to see me at my very start. And again, like I said, it's funny, right? I mean, Twitch kind of rolled out these subs without a whole lot of warning. So it's taken me a little while to adapt to them. But it's important to remember this stuff, right? Like I said, viewers are not just a number. It does mean a lot that you guys have shown this support, whether you've come in on the one day or whether you've been here for a while. So thank you for that. Yeah, well, just the Streamlabs animations, Nubisaur. Like I can give you an example.
Greed, for lack of a better word,
Thanks, John.
is good.
This is a test donation for $1.
It randomly generates those amounts, by the way, guys. There's a significant amount of debris in orbit around this gas giant. Most of it appears to come from long-lost starships of various configurations. I pretty much by default research everything. Now that we've got sort of a new generation of leader in, I might need to be a little more careful about what I poke around inside, but I need to remember to unpause the game. Anyways, as I said, guys, for the whole business of subs, I mean, as always, if you're on the Discord, let me know what you're interested in seeing. What do you think would be fair, or what do you think would be interesting? If there are some emotes that you would like to see. I mean, obviously the bot. So one of the things that has made me a little hesitant to get too excited about doing emotes is the bot actually has a few references to things that have happened in casts. I'll give you an example. I noticed those tend not to get used a whole lot. Now, I have kept them secret too. But yeah, just with that in mind, like because I know people tend not to, like, I don't think that's quite what my cast really likes. So thanks, Endors. Because I don't really think that's been a huge draw, I haven't put a whole lot of thought into that. But with that in mind, like, especially if you're subbed, like, this is the sort of stuff that you get as a perk, and I'm interested in the feedback in terms of what you're interested in. So, but obviously we can talk about that at another time. The strong gravity well of Ozygarum 1 has pulled in a massive amount of space debris, which has formed a dense layer around parts of the gas giant. Most of it appears to be wreckage from a series of space battles fought in the system several millennia ago. Scavengers have already scoured the debris of valuable technologies and artifacts, but a mining station should be able to recycle the metal. Red sun in the background's a really nice look. There appears to be deliberately crafted structures on this planet's surface, pointing toward a past long forgotten. Recent victory in the Ibaka system seems to have awakened the hunter in Admiral Mona Robbins, who has now become a much more aggressive commander. Deus Vult. Oh, looks like we're moving straight into round 2, so... I don't know if I want to risk my science ship on this yet. So we're definitely going to lose some guys on this. But I think in the end, we're going to be able to colonize pretty quickly. That colony ship's been wasting a lot of energy for a while, so this is not the worst possible outcome. Alright, the Butcher's Bill. 6 Corvettes, 1 destroyer. That could have been worse.
Research complete.
Alright, and we've got warp drives, which is great news. So, planet Ozigarum 1A is a toxic wasteland, but our scans unveil that it has not always been so. A now extinct civilization seems to have destroyed this home planet via heavy reliance on climate-altering fuels and toxins. On a remote hill close to a major city, we have found a lone active facility, a robot assembly plant, desolated and surrounded by military vehicles so deteriorated that they break upon touch. The facility is alien and mysterious, but could provide us with ample study material. Alright, so we've got Empire-wide edicts now. Oh, I didn't pick. So I think this is going to be another one of these cases where I go for something quick. So 25 months versus 33, yeah, we'll just go for Disruptor. Also, this guy gets, oh, it's a 45% bonus. So yeah, this guy is going to get through that pretty quick. And I've got a lot of stuff to build, so just take a minute. As always, stop, smell the roses, see what's going on. So this planet's going to take care of itself. I basically, there's just one more Mishar that needs to be generated. We're good there. Sweet Cake Days, thank you very much for that follow. Next up, we'll see if we can find some more productive places to put Mishar and droids. So yeah, we'll decide what to do with all of this later. This is pretty much ready for me to hand over. Actually, I might as well do it now. The reason why I'll do it now is it also means that the AI is going to start improving these tiles a little bit faster than I would. So this is So I think this is going to cost me in terms of minerals, but I'm not so sad about that, I don't think. Well, I guess there really isn't a very compelling reason for me to give up these resources. So definitely doing quite well for themselves. I think at this point, seeing as they're making more than I am, I think I am going to raise the taxes on minerals. I mean, if I max tax them, they're still generating 48 a turn, which is... And I mean, they've got reserves of 58k, so that's, like... They're doing all right. The big question is energy credits. I think this is one that I'm willing... I'm going to tax them, but I'm still going to let them go in double digits. Well, no, I should still have the same logic. I don't want them to be making more than me. 15 is still enough to go by, so... We've received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that calls themselves the Juvan Hegemony. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire that we are in contact with. Alright, they're authoritarian and fanatic militarists, so again, people we're not going to get along well with. I bring greetings from Empress Skywing I, the undisputed ruler of the Juvan hegemony. Respect our borders and keep out of our affairs, and perhaps our mighty fleets will refrain from visiting your worlds. The way forward lies in our hands, Juvans. Alright, so what are these guys about? Oh, Jurin. My bad. Wait, I don't think this is right. Yeah, Juvan. They're a star empire and inferior. And they're way the hell over the other side of the map. Okay, so we're in a fairly good position. How about these guys? Yeah, so they have a technological advantage. If I declare war... I mean, I'm going to have to do well in the war. But I think we'd be able to pull it off. So what we'll do is we're going to get ourselves up to full capacity first. And then we will... I think we'll kick things off. And I'm going to get that colony ship to go in orbit. Again, that's going to cost me energy-wise, but it's worth it in this case. Now, droids. I've got all the droids I need. They're currently generating -1. Oh, hang on. Okay, so we build power plants here. New droid here. We are at...
Construction complete.
So we build a hydroponics farm here. Basic mine here. And it would be foolish to waste money, so... I'm thinking naval capacity at this point. We're not really going to be able to afford it, but better to just get it over with. Alright, so I still have an orbital research mandate. And I'm running out of research to do.
Construction complete.
How's Ziff doing? Oh, that's the one I was just working on.
System survey complete.
I think we'll just wait a little while on this, but that's going to be another one that goes on the chopping block. Did I seriously just survey the entire... Guess I did. Alright, we're going to do something a little unexpected with this one. We're going to go and upgrade the fleet. And then we're going to do that with our next... batch as well. So again, I want to try and push my navy as much as I can. So this does mean that sometimes these droids are going to be built a little bit slower than what I want them to. Are the planets in the red blob mine? Yes. Now it doesn't mean that I've colonized all of them, but it does mean that I sort of have like I have the rights to them basically. You know what? I think at this case we're just going to go for the good old mining stations. Can afford another destroyer. On Vega, I definitely need to build another droid. I need to build a lot of droids. And apparently I forgot to clear out all of this. This planet's kind of been running off on its own thing for a while, so... There have been reports of unexplainable seismic disturbances on Trappist Secundus. Tremors can be felt across the planet, and many of our settlements have suffered damage. While investigating the earthquakes, our scientists discovered a vast network of subterranean caverns. The deepest of these caverns are home to some kind of indigenous civilization. They appear to be tunneling towards the surface. Ground vibrations from our settlements may have triggered this behavior, but we cannot be certain. There's no telling how these aliens will react when they spill out of their tunnels and encounter our colonists. We have to deal with the situation. And we can establish communications, or we can do a preemptive strike. So, let's establish communications. Especially because engineering is currently being taken up. One of our probes burrowed through to the ground and intercepted the tunneling aliens on Trappist Secundus. After the startled alien workers calmed down, the probe was successful in establishing communications with their leaders. Open a channel. This thing on? Can you hear us, surfacers? We understand you hail from the great nothing that lies upwards, beyond the stone. It was assumed that nothing living could exist there, but evidently that is not so. What are your intentions? Tell us about yourselves. Our empire stretches across every pocket of the known world. Only the great nothing lies beyond our reach. We have many fine cities, supported by lichen farms, and fish we catch in the large rivers flowing through our tunnels. This has been our way for thousands of years. Our diggers heard faint echoes of your cities through the stone, and we decided to investigate. Would like to coexist in peace. And so we shall, Surfacer. Let us share the world together in the spirit of peace. We would be most interested in trading with your people. I believe we have much to offer one another. We shall return to our cities and make the arrangements. Well, that was surprisingly simple. I mean, again, it's all robots here, right? So it's not a whole lot to worry about. A cursory scan of the planet's surface reveals a weak signal pulsing in the darkness of space. That was Plan B, Endors. Nicely done. All right, so from this point on, I think we have the droid support that we need. This planet's coming along the way I want it to. Oh, it was the acuity. I am okay with this. I think I'm going to send this one on automatic exploration. Because I don't have a lot of other options. I feel like I'm overloading a bit on destroyers right now. But, I mean, them's the breaks. The signal originates from the remains of an antenna lake structure. Exploratory probes were dispatched from the ISS Pathfinder to the surface to investigate the matter more closely. What Science Officer Martin Morris found was a cavernous vault that, while easily pried open, was evidently the last safe house and refuge of some long-dead race of aliens. While reasonably, technologically advanced, it seems that they never reached for the stars and perished in some planet-wide natural disaster. The vault is immense, housing thousands upon thousands of black boxes that the ISS Pathfinder has determined to be data storage devices. A special project has been prepared to decode their contents. Alright, well, I like special projects. Big question here is whether or not I want to try another colony. I definitely have the space for it. And I actually have the infrastructure as well. So we're going to get up to 7 when we colonize here. And then we're going to get... Yeah, I think we can go for 1 more. Makes me a little sad to do this just because that could have been another destroyer. And obviously we're going to be vassalizing these guys fairly quickly. But we're also making 176 per turn, so... Also, in case you guys haven't noticed, is the green blobber... We don't really have any enemies right now, but I'm thinking the brown blob is our current enemy. The vault is a tomb for hopeful immortals. Science officer Martin Morris asserts that huge blocks of ternary code found in the databanks are neural images, digitized brain scans. Doubtlessly, the aliens of Sluhiri 2 considered this to be their only shot at any kind of survival following whatever calamity befell their planet. They did not have the means to resurrect themselves, but banked on the impossibly small hope that eventually someone else would have those means. So we can let data aliens lie and gain 500 engineering, but of course we're not going to do that because we have AI, so we will upload the neural patterns and see whatever disasters happen as a result. So food-wise, I'm going to need to accept the fact that my existing farms are insufficient. Problem is, a natural 2 is hard to pass up, so what we're going to do instead is we're going to build a couple of hydroponics farms. There. It's actually probably a little foolish to do, to be completely honest, but... And... I'm trying to kind of set these things up to automate themselves. It does mean that I'm kind of wasting some resources for a few turns, but on this one I'm making enough that it's not gonna break the bank.
System survey complete.
So basically I get to ignore this planet for the rest of the playthrough. These guys... I think I just need to give them one... Yeah, I just need to give them a science lab and I think we'll be good. So at this point it is actually very tempting to start handing over some of these planets to the AI. So I'll give them Ziff. And I can't give them Tiam because they don't have...
Complete.
I'm thinking it's because I don't have a direct link. Let's just double check that. Not a neighbor of the sector. So I guess I would need to give them this as well. Oh, sorry, I'm not paying attention to chat. Why do Cybermen need food, make food implants or something? You get the joke. Don't find it funny. How are you doing anyway, System Talk? I'm doing well. I'm not sure what joke you're referring to, but I will forgive you either way. I need to catch... I need to get a little... I need to get my head back in the game. I've let my mind wander a bit. Alright, this is not bad. I'm thinking I'll maybe use this as like a farm planet. Oh, it's because I started the stream too late. It's not really a joke so much as it's just a confession. Alright, we lost another scientist. So do we have any good scientists? No. So we'll just recruit a normal one. This is not ideal. It would be nice to have, you know, to have somebody who's, oh, actually, there's one efficiency that I can do.
Colonization in progress. Research complete.
This is very expensive, so let's just go for... You know what, I hate doing this, but let's just get the Sentinel Point defense out of the way. Good lord. I need to get my... Well, I'm just going to upgrade my construction ship. I'm running out of things to do. Which is... I mean, it's a nice place to be in, just because it means I'm relatively strong, but I'm thinking... So we're going to be up to 95 soon. What are these guys looking at for military strength? Still inferior. Don't really have any allies. I'm thinking at this point we might just want to... like, start the war. I don't think we'll be able to finish it by the time the stream's done, but... Yeah, there definitely is that, Endors. I'm more so just thinking, like... I'm making a lot of money, but there's also a lot of stuff that I want to do. Actually, one thing I do need to start doing, so obviously my home world's is not gonna upgrade itself. So at this point, I'm gonna start upgrading the energy buildings. Because energy is gonna pay for all of this extra expansion that I do pretty quickly. Following a long period of growing support for the Citizens' Self-Determinism Network, the great Oxborough state has finally embraced the faction, adopting the core values and policies. As a result of bringing this faction into their government, they have become more outwardly egalitarian. Alright, who are these guys again? Yeah, we called them rivals. We now have more in common with them, but... What I really want to do is vassalize people. Who died? We lost our admiral. Alright. A pity. Hey, Endors, that's our ideal. We like equal rights. We're the good communists. Alright. So yeah, what I'm just gonna do here, I'm gonna start with upgrades to all my energy, and then we'll take the leftovers and, well, I feel like I should be doing some colonization. So we're gonna have Ibaka, and then we should do Doria next. I think we'll speed things up a bit. No, there's our naval capacity. That's, Galactic Administration's really tempting because of the bonus civic slot, but 10,000 is a lot. So instead, we will go for something inexpensive and go for frequency tuning. Again, it's nothing that I'm not gonna like do cartwheels over being able to get that. It's more just the fact that I can manage it. I'm not building robots here, which is bad. Let's just take up all the spots that... Oh, I'm out of droid money. We've received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that calls themselves the Commonality of Pharaxod. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire that we are in contact with. Greetings from the Commonality of Pharaxod. Hey, these guys are like us! Chancellor Loxdal is our elected representative, but in truth all citizens have a voice in our government. We strive to better ourselves through technology, a desire that we hope you will respect. Sounds like we will be the bestest of friends. Who are you vassalizing? Oh my god. Let's see who they're... Let's see who the unidentified empire is before we... before we offer them independence. Where are they anyway? Oh, these guys here, so... Yeah, you know what? We'll just worry about these guys first. Especially if we can vassalize them, that's going to be a nice little feather in our cap. Okay, decision time. I'm going to forego the colony ship in favor of building out my military to get this job done. In fact, I'm going to do one better. I am going to stop building ships. Well, hang on. Yeah, I'm going to stop building ships, and we're going to start the war right away. Well, sorry, we'll start the war after I get my upgrades in. So, Jesus Christ, that's a lot. And we've got a colony. Okay, well, we've already got a colony ship. We will send you off to Doria. Again, these are going to be a little tricky to defend. But I think we can manage it, so...
Research complete.
Okay.
Colony established. System survey complete.
So at this point, we're just going to sit down and think about what we've done.
Construction complete. Construction complete.
I mean, it's kind of nice to see how quickly we can build everything up, but... See, this planet should be filled with robots. As much as it pains me to do this.
Situation log updated.
We've encountered some form of alien vessels in the Lessem system. These strange objects have been flagged as the Tau aliens until we can learn more about them. And, alright, let's do one of these Empire-wide edicts, because I haven't seen this yet. Improved energy initiative. Oh, interesting. So it's a bonus It's a bonus to happiness and research speed. Well, I'm okay with this. Does mean I'm going to need to make a decision on who gets the edict, though. There we go. Out of curiosity, did you go for communism for the memes, or did you find its pros and cons more manageable? I didn't really have any particular meme in mind. It's just so normally when I come up with a species, I just sort of I just play something out in my head. I think about something that I think would it would just make for an interesting playthrough. And in this case, I was thinking a little bit about Robert Owen and sort of some of the failed attempts to implement a communist or a socialist system. And I thought, it's like, okay, well, what if really the only problem with this was the fact that they just didn't have robots? Like if they were able to have worked that out, then the whole thing would have been fine. And so I decided to go for again, like I was the thing about that particular story that has always interested me has been just the simple idea that you get a bunch of intellectuals together who are going to form, a quote-unquote perfect society, up to the point that people actually need to do work. And so I said, I was like, okay, well, you just add this degree of freedom. You just, make this adjustment. You now automate the work, and what do we do with that? So that was the only thing that I was really going for. I will decline this. I'm feeling a little warmongery now, so
System survey complete.
I do need to keep an eye on the cost for vassalization, but
Colonization in progress.
at this point we're just gonna
Construction complete.
crank up the speed. Federation builders. Greetings from the Kathiri League. We are a democratic nation committed to upholding the individual freedoms of our citizens, regardless of their species. Our elected ruler, President Pendulum Denpiram, hopes for a long and fruitful relationship with your people. Our citizens send their regard.
I would never want to belong to any club.
Mercurio Aruda 94. Thank you very much for that follow. Sorry it's a little more idle right now. I'm a little out to lunch, and then I'm also just sort of waiting for this whole upgrade thing to pass by. But thank you again, guys, for all the support. Failing of most things can be boiled down to the lack of a slave robot race to do their bidding. I know that's why I'm not more successful in life. Well, that's the other thing too. Like, there's a lot of opportunities for interesting science fiction storytelling by this, because of course we're on a path. We're doing the Flesh is Weak special event right now, where we're slowly transforming the species into something that is a blend of Mishar and machine. And so if it's previously thought of as a purely subservient relationship, then what does it mean once you've blended, like once you've kind of put that once you've sort of crossed that line, right? Where do the egalitarian sentiments, how far do those go once you start resembling your servants more often, or alternatively, once your servants start becoming built to look a little bit more like you? Now, again, this is the beauty of Stellaris, which is there's enough writing in there to sort of tickle your fancy and ask the what if, but it doesn't beat you over the head with it. You're still left to fill in the blank. So To be honest, you find communism a high-risk, high-reward system. In theory, it can give you a ton more than average democracy. The problem is A, that it has to be led by smart and considerate men. B, everybody has to support it, as most of the time a single smart man working against it from the inside or a small group of lazy asses can tear it apart. Well, and this is, I think what this comes down to is the question of what the role of, of a government or a system of government is. I'm just going to read the dialogue here and we can talk about this. I bring greetings from Emperor Starwing I, the undisputed ruler of the United Jesnak Systems. We wish to learn more about your species. Which martial techniques do your warriors employ, given your fascinating biology? Citizens send their regards. Alright, the big question is, are they stronger than me? Answer, no. In fact, even the ones that are equivalent to me do I still have closed borders with these guys? We'll see if these guys come along. Oh my. You know what? You guys can just have your fun. So yeah, I mean, so obviously any form of government that's just simply perpetuating itself is probably not a very good one. And so I think a very natural question of any time that somebody raises the statement or the idea, X would be perfect as long as, well, especially too, like, so, I mean, if you go back to sort of the Aristotelian view, man is a political animal. It is a very reasonable question to people declaring war on each other indoors. We're safe. There's a very reasonable question that you can ask, which is, it's like, well, governments exist for us. So why exactly are we, like, why are we worried about this? Why are we, why do I need to change things around to make sure that the system of government is doing what it originally set out to do? I think I'm just going to have to accept that there's going to be a lot of Mishar on this planet. So with that in mind, like, it's the communism would be ideal as long as people behaved a certain way. I mean, it's nice to imagine. It's something that, just like any science fiction, I think does a good job of, of sort of giving us an interesting what if scenario and sort of reflecting on it. But of course, the important thing is that, politics in the end is something by which we organize ourselves, how we choose what our ideals are, how we bring about order. And I mean, there's always the famous quote, right? Democracy is the worst form of government except for all the other ones that we've tried. And I think there's something to be said for that, right? Like, I don't think anybody's particularly happy with democratic outcomes. And yet, if you take a look at, the systems of government which have brought about the most human flourishing, they tend to be very democratic ones. And I think in the end, like, any system of government has to recognize the way that people are. And I guess the biggest thing I could say, as much as it pains me to say so, like, in the end, the lazy people are people too, right? And in the end, the dumb people are people too. And a society kind of needs to account for all of them. So it's why I've never felt too, like, I definitely don't have any Marxist sympathies or anything like that. But I always find these kinds of, I don't know, I find these, like, games like this are just fun ways to sort of explore some of these ideas. So, hello, Princess Nami, how are you doing? Sorry guys, I'm going to enjoy a single French fry. Nom, 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 nom. A gift to celebrate the friendship between our two civilizations, a caravan from the subterranean aliens on Trappist Secundus have brought a large quantity of gemstones to the surface. Stones such as these are apparently mined by their empire deep underground, as close to the planet's core as they dare venture. I am doing quite well, Nami. I'm a little bit in the doldrums of the game just because it costs me a lot to upgrade my fleet, and there's a lot of things I want to do, namely declare war on my neighbors. If you were to choose a government system, you'd go for an intelligence oligarchy with 100% transparency over anybody who wants to be elected. And that's, I mean, in some sense, that's fair. But again, it begs the question, like, so, like, the people who did the communist revolution, the one to sort of found the USSR, right? I mean, like Lenin and that, I mean, in some senses they were thugs, right? But they did sort of have this idea that it's like, you know, well, if the people are not gonna rise up, we'll rise for them. You know, we have everybody's best interests in mind. Don't worry, we'll take care of it for you. And the important thing is that once you have those systems in place, one, it's very hard to get rid of them. And then two, it's there's less of a reason for people to sort of behave in a reasonable way. So there's a really good book written by Darren Acemoglu and Jim Robinson called Why Nations Fail, and it taught, like, Robinson is a political scientist with a pretty solid background in economics. Acemoglu is one of the finest living economists, and they talk a lot about institutions and the role that they have and how important they are in sort of the way that a society turns out. And I mean, in this case, obviously this is different from the government that you're talking about, but one of the, like, they've got a really great case study on, like, you know, these cities that sort of sit on, like, the Mexican-US border, and how even at the city level, you know which side the US side is and what side the Mexican side is by the level of sort of well-being and wealth that are in there. And the point that's made is that Mexico has inherited sort of the Spanish system of government, which was effectively, you know, we come to the New World, we enslave, you know, the native inhabitants, we get them to extract as much wealth, which we then cart back to the Old World. And, I mean, it's obviously not overtly that kind of system now, but you have sort of systems in place where the idea is that you're really just trying to either knock off the guy on the top, or you're trying to, you know, you're basically just trying to get as much as you can, and if that means like bribery or whatever, but basically the person who's in power is the person who you need to make sure is happy to get what you want. Whereas in the United States, I mean, so first of all, the revolution was basically, their original claim was basically to assert their rights as British citizens, to get the things that they felt they were entitled to as British citizens. And one of the things that happened there was they did try to adopt the Spanish model, but they found that, let's say, the local indigenous population was not so cooperative. They didn't particularly like the idea of slavery, and they were very effective at fighting them off. And so ultimately the only way that the colonies survived were to bring in people who did the work and survived the winters through their work. And as a result, you know, that original sort of spark for the revolution just comes all the way back to the colonial times, which is simply that these are people who have had to make it through their own works. And so they're not particularly inclined to letting other people take that away from them. Ultimately, one of the reasons why they separated from the British. And so the idea here is that you have a system of government which is very very sensitive and very reluctant to hand over too much power to a central authority, precisely because, you know, there's just this sense of individualism and sort of the individual works and the rewards from that. And the challenge is, I mean, this is one of the reasons I know everybody gets really angry when we talk about current affairs, but this is one of the big challenges of Trump, is that this is one of these cases where, as much as you can hate somebody like George W. Bush or something like that, you really have not seen something like the use of the office of the president to enrich oneself. And this is kind of this is where people sort of get a little concerned, because in the end, it's very different. It's the sort of thing that you've usually seen in other countries. And so where this whole thing, you know, is going basically is, I think when we talk about democratic institutions or when we talk about communism, that the important thing to remember is that transparency is a good ideal to have, but you do need to consider people's nature. And in the end, it's very hard to say. It's like, once this person's in a position of authority, how do we keep a check on them? Like, even if they're transparent, what is the thing that keeps them from behaving properly? Is it the fact that there might be a revolution to overthrow them? Is that a cost that we're willing to bear as a society? Or do we want an institution through which basically, you get 4 years to screw things up and then we can turf you in an election? It leads to a very short-term style of decision-making, but it's one that potentially, and at least in terms of historical experience, is one that's led to the best outcomes. Coffee and whiskey from now on, imperial beverage off limits. We've detected the presence of a pre-space alien civilization on Trendomona in the Con-Viab system. Atmospheric contaminants and light pollution visible from orbit are consistent with densely populated machine-age society. They appear to have mastered air travel, and the factories are mass-producing goods in their cities. We should consider building an observation post above their world to study them more closely. I was almost ready to upgrade my fleet, and then I went and did something silly and built a whole bunch of
System survey complete.
resource extractors. I'm going to have to go in and clear these things out eventually, but I think, again, our goal is to vassalize our neighbor to the north. And once we do that, we can sort of turn our attention inward again. This is the big thing, is like, we've got a huge military, and we haven't really been doing anything with it. So there's a side of me actually that's really tempted to just sort of like put everything I own into sectors, and let the AI manage it. But I'm not sure that's the smartest thing I could do. So what we'll do instead, we'll wait till next month. We should see a big withdrawal from the minerals. Yep. So phase 2. I don't want a robotic defense army, I want a robotic assault army.
System survey complete.
So there's going to be 2 things that I do. So one is going to be... So I'm going to build just an eye-watering army. The real question here is whether or not I want to continue on these research agreements. I'm going to say no for now. We're going to turn inward and we're going to focus entirely on sort of improving ourselves. I should also assign a new admiral. Again, young ideally. Oh, but fleet lodges, you know what? I'm going to go for logistics just because money is always worth it. All right. Physics lab it is, just because I don't want to go for anything that's like 10,000. All right. Looks like we do have an upgrade that we can do for this as well. In for a penny, in for a pound. So the idea here is that I'm going to be building up a whole bunch of armies. Now, what I'm going to do when I declare war, I'm going to combine these fleets, and I'm going to send them to basically take out as many space stations as I can. I want to basically annihilate their defensive capabilities before I consider anything else. And then once I do that, so priority number one ideally is to take out all of the space stations if I can. Their fleet would probably be best out of everything. But I want to make it so that they can't turn around and defend themselves. When do we convert everyone into a hive mind? You can play a hive mind in this Endors. Mandate unfulfilled. Our Chancellor's reign has come to an end with their election campaign promises unfulfilled. Well, and he died, so that's life. We unite the fleets. And we want full vassalization. Nobody would want to join us, fair enough. You can be both, but I believe I think the natural way of looking at it is it's a Zerg style hive mind. There's nothing saying though that if the galaxy presents enough threats, we'll say no. Oh yes, the early Yanni domains because they're pacifists, but why? Cheaper war demands is definitely tempting, but ship upkeep will be the... Between Hive and Hive Mind? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what the difference is. I wasn't... I'll admit I wasn't actually aware that there was a difference between the two. Well, other than the very literal difference. I never really thought of them as being something you could be confused about is maybe the better way for me to put it. So there's a pretty important thing that's going to happen here, which was I did not realize that these guys used...
Situation log updated.
Who is it? Oh, it's another scientist, damn it. So they use this wormhole technology. What this means is that if we can knock out enough of these, they won't really be able to fly into any of our territory, which is obviously ideal.
System survey complete.
So I'm going to... This is going to seem a little counterintuitive. I'm going to completely ignore this... I'm going to completely ignore this colony. We'll get to that guy later. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically travel amongst all of these systems. We're going to find as many... We're going to find as many opportunities to knock out their transport as we can. I have a central decision unit to which all information goes, from which all information goes to... Okay.
System survey complete.
Do I want to build any more of these robots? How many do I have? So I've got 2. I feel like I should at least have 10. All right, so similar idea here. They don't have a sort of a starport, which is good news. I may want to take out this construction ship, but not until I've taken out their means of transport. I mean, the drawback here is that they're going to be building up their fleets while I do this, so I want to move quickly. But the good news is, unless they want to engage my fleet one-on-one, I'm basically going to be running through, destroying as many of their, as much of their infrastructure as I can, and then basically I just get to engage them on my own terms. The really nice thing about this, of course, will be that I can then turn around. I can lay siege to something like Yump, and I know I'm not going to have sort of a surprise fleet come in and take me out. These guys are pacifists? Oh yeah, I'm a jerk. All right, well this is just great news. So I think actually we'll take out the wormhole first. I want to take out the research station, but I am gonna immediately turn around and head for their space station. Now, if they're smart, they're actually going to try and bring in a fleet to defend this, because this will be their greatest strength. But again, I have pretty much... I can sort of just laugh at them while I do this, so... how are we? We're 6. We've got 3, 4... Okay, so I think... this planet's reasonably well set up, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12. Should probably get a couple more. Now let's do... just going to mainline destroyers for a little bit. I'll see what the composition is. 18 destroyer. Yeah, okay. I should consider sort of re-establishing some balance, but we'll see what the casualties are on this. Alright, so it turns out they have missiles, which is not good for me. But we'll see what we lose. I think what'll happen is basically the corvettes will wind up being... the corvettes will sort of wind up being some... a bit of a screen. Alright, decision time. So the question is, do I go for military-oriented things, which will help me with my border range? Domination will help me with vassalization, which I'm actually going to be doing. Alright, this is... I'm going to need to think a little bit about this. Okay, so war demands less expensive. Plus 20 acceptance to diplomatically subjugating other empires. This seems really in line with what I want to do, and yet I feel that prosperity is the right call to make here because of my costs. So as much as it pains me to do so, I really do want to take domination. I am going to go down the path of prosperity just because this is going to help my economy so much. And you'll see why when I use my construction ship. I'm curious what our casualties on this are going to be. I'm going to say 3 or 4 corvettes. We'll see.
System survey complete. Situation log updated.
Alright, well, I was hoping not to take out that research station, but that is unfortunately the nature of the beast. Alright, so we lost 11 corvettes. Now again, it's tempting to bombard and do something about this planet, but again, what I want to be doing is I want to be traveling through all of their territory and taking out as much of their infrastructure as possible. So first place we're going to go to is Efrov. Then we're going to take on Anachronus. All right, something's happening here. Oh, it's just another resource extractor. Actually, I'm going to do something a little cheeky. I'm not sure this is the smartest thing I could do, but we're going to try and make things a little more expedient. Well, no, we're going to hold off on this until once these armies are done. I'm going to make us sort of a splinter unit. Also, I'm going to be a little ballsy and research in here. Okay, so infrastructure goes first. Science ship is buggering off. So we do the next logical step, which is to take out that gate. And then we head near their capital. We know we have at least one more. Space station to worry about, and that's because their capital is here, Janus. But we have 4 times the strength of that. So our individual fleet power is 4 times the strength of that space station. Now the drawback, of course, so their fleet power is now equivalent compared to ours. That is a source of concern. Because, of course, we're going to be engaging that fleet on their home territory where they can defend themselves. But we have a couple of tricks that we can pull, namely getting ourselves back up to full fleet capacity. Have a good game. Good night. Thanks, Green Acker. I don't think I saw you in chat a little bit earlier, but thanks a lot for hanging out. It's a pleasure having you here. I don't know if this is too exciting for you guys to be checking out. I mean, I'm kind of trying to systematically go through all of the I'm trying to kind of systematically go through all of the systems in a, you know, as orderly of a way as I can manage. But yeah, the only thing I'm really doing here, it is not a great feature that I'm sort of ignoring everything else at the expense of the military. There's probably some slightly more efficient ways that I can do this, but again, the important thing when going up against these wormholes, because I get to decide where they move, one of the things that I'm trying to do is, 1, limit their ability to retaliate, and then 2, if I can get in and if I can take out their space stations as quickly as possible, then I can basically take over their planets at leisure. So one of the things that I'm doing here is, as I'm building my replacements, I'm eventually going to send them to these sort of border systems where I know they don't have wormhole access, and I'm just slowly, piece by piece, going to sort of invade each one. This is also why I put the this is also kind of why I put the investment into the sensors, because obviously being able to see what's in a given system as you're moving through, that can be a pretty potent benefit. I don't think we're going to be able to catch this thing in time, so we'll just head to the
Situation log updated.
One thing I'm not 100% sure on this particular area is if actually, one thing I can do.
Construction complete.
I would never want to belong to any club.
Pure Heart
Someone like
QVQ, thank you very much for that follow. I can start putting down some robots. Also, my construction ship is idle. All right, so clearly here I want to be taking out this. I want to be taking out this station, and then we're going to move on to the wormhole. And that means that probably everything is waiting for us here. I have no idea why they said that we're equivalent power, because they've got 464 FTL inhibitor. I think that's to keep me from escaping. Anyways, this makes me wonder where their fleet is. I guess I'll find out soon enough. I'm not using any mods, Avocado Lad. This is vanilla Stellaris. I don't think I've actually installed any mods now that I think of it. No, I don't actually have any. So one thing I'll admit in terms of my welcome to the stream, by the way. I'll admit one of the things in terms of my background as a gamer, I don't dislike mods, but I've always really enjoyed sort of the vanilla experience on any game that I've played. So it's always been, it's taken a little getting used to get into some of the Paradox games, because of course they have such an active modding community. And it's a little funny. It's a little funny to me just because I enjoy it. It's a really rewarding way to play, and yet because the majority of my gaming experience has usually been to play what I've been given, it's definitely taken me a while to get into it. So the one that I found was best for modding for me, I really like the story behind the Kaiserreich mod. And then in terms of Stellaris, I think the big thing for me about the Stellaris mods are that a lot of them are very setting based. So, you've got a Star Wars mod, you've got a Star Trek mod, you've got Mass Effect, pretty much Warhammer 40k, which Warhammer 40k they've got a good RTS game in the form of the Dawn of War series, and yet Warhammer 40k is huge in its scope. It deals with worlds, it deals with this very big sweep of storytelling. So I actually think Warhammer 40k is really appropriate for a grand strategy or a 4X style strategy game. But the big thing for me about Stellaris has been that all of that is already in the game, in terms of the types of societies that you can build. So I do intend to try out the mods at some point, but I've been there's still so much that I still have to experience in the base game that I've been neglecting it. Do you have anything that you recommend, by the way, Avocado Lad? Greetings from the Spolak Alliance of States. Chancellor Dolshug is our elected representative, but in truth, all citizens have a voice in our government. We strive to better ourselves through technology, a desire that we hope you will respect. Again, another potential batch of comrades. You know what? Let's okay, so these things should already be researched. We could give extinct species of ancient aliens a second chance at life by uploading their neural scans to robotic bodies. Do it. Nothing could go wrong. I'm kind of tempted to try and repair these guys, but it is going to take a while to get them back, so... Nope, just visual changes like adding ship skins. I'm sure there'll be quality of life mods that you could find, but I'm sure their necessity will become apparent as you delve further into the game, in case you love you some Stellaris. I mean, I am a tremendous fan of the game. The only real gripe that I have is... Oh, wow. We just got right into the thick of it. Well, this will be interesting to watch. I think we'll still... I don't like the fact that we're divided between the two. This will be a character building moment, but I think we'll survive. Yeah, so they were... Paradox was good enough to give me a key when it first came out. But there are so many grand strategy games to play. that. Wow, we really cut it close on this one.
Situation log updated.
Fortunately, that's all we needed to do, so I think it's not going to be a bad time to reconsider the
Situation log updated.
it's not going to be a bad time to sort of reconsider my my fleet composition. But yeah, so but with that in mind, I also get things like Crusader Kings, which is sort of where I got my start. And so, you know, the only real drawback has been that I just have so many I have so much stuff to play that in some cases Stellaris has kind of gone on the back burner, not because I dislike it, but just because there's like so much that's kind of gotten in the way in the meantime. Okay, we got to get the well. What are these things made out of? So they're gonna take down shields. There is no reason for me to try and fight this. If they catch up, I'll do it.
Tile blocker cleared.
But yeah, too slow. But yeah, so the only thing was that because I play these games quite slowly, I didn't really get a chance to like really jump into a lot of the meat of these games, and so this playthrough has kind of been the opportunity for me to kind of do a little bit more than what I'm accustomed to. I'm so sorry about the really fragmented answer. I've been casting for a while. I also didn't get a lot of sleep last night. So I will admit I was kind of expecting a little bit less of a close or a fair fight, but we should be okay with sort of our remaining fleets. Lost a lot of corvettes, so I think we're just gonna crank out as many of those as we can.
Survey complete.
Not a problem at all. Thank you very much for the host. I wasn't sure if you were still around or if you just hosted to go to bed, but it's always appreciated.
Debris.
Are you missing something, or is that well, my weapon levels see the same, my defense level is shit tier compared to them. You simply can't destroy their ships without sacrificing a ton of your own. I mean, it depends. They have, for the last couple of rounds, they had some... Uh-oh. It's definitely going to get interesting. They have a lot of missiles, which have allowed them to engage me at range. I think we lose this. I'm going to get ready with my retreat button just in case things get too hairy. Yeah, we're definitely losing a lot of shields. So once the balance turns against us, we're going to F off.
Incoming transmission.
Holy smokes, I think we actually pulled it off. So I'll try and show you how you can sort of tell some of these things. Smock. This is definitely going to be a really costly one for us, but the good news is that we're going to be able to absolutely crush their
Research complete.
we're going to be able to crush their side, so Lord almighty. All right. I'm just going for the cheapest stuff here. All right.
Construction complete.
Heal up, boys. You've earned it. As for the science ship, how bold am I? Very bold. All right. In the meantime, I'm going to take the rest of this first strike force to go in. So the good news, like,
Special project complete.
oop, Limbo, a new beginning. All right. So in the meantime, there's been a whole bunch of other story stuff happening. Also, I should probably, I need to distribute my ship construction a little more evenly. So let's do, yeah, it's not really that much of a savings. Limbo, a new beginning. After many trials and setbacks, the engineering department has finally managed to transfer the extinct aliens' neuroscans to robotic bodies, and the results are exhilarating. The ancient aliens have fully regained consciousness and have expressed a desire to join our empire, offering to colonize a new planet within our borders. We would be honored. Alright, so now we're over the limit, which not so good, but they did colonize Stenlar for us, so that's good news. What I want to do, though, is just find the fullest world to... Alright, well, Tiom Prime, congratulations, you are now a colony. Or now you're part of the sector. Although I think I just screwed up my, my building plans. So sorry, as far as combat goes, is it a complicated rock, paper, scissors system where one class has an advantage over the other but was weak to another one? It's a little more... it's a little more complicated than that. So the best way that I can illustrate this to you, Smock, is to... So we can get a quick report of this. So we've got some ideas in terms of damage output, you know, basically the whole deal. Of what was going on. So we can say, like, the first thing you can take a look at, like, what is the majority of damage that these guys are doing? Well, it's energy weapons, right? One thing you might say is like, well, you know, maybe I should put up a bunch of shields then, but they also have disruptors, so, you know, there's always trade-offs to these things here. But you can also get some ideas. So for instance, my hit ratio is higher than theirs. So in addition to hitting harder, I'm also able to dodge more. So for instance, we've got, you know, Sentinel point defense. We've got better evasion than them. A lot of that is just because I have a lot of corvettes inside of my fleet. So to give you an idea, I've really not done anything in the ship designer. So we'll just do a quick corvette here. So here are all my options. Realistically, I'm going to want to go for the best in class. So we've got a UV laser here. It's going to be a small one. So in this case, it's 8 to 12 damage. Cooldown of 3.75. Now it's going to give an estimate in terms of its damage based on its accuracy and such. So in this case, it's 2.39. It ignores 15% of armor, but if it goes up against a shield, it does 20% less damage. So in this case here, you know, you've got your trade-off. If you know that you have an enemy that has sort of gone heavy on shield defenses, then you know, something like the lasers are not a bad idea. On the other hand, you know, maybe you're somebody who's been using a lot of lasers. People know that, so then they get a whole bunch of shields. Well, a counter to that would be a disruptor, right? So this only does an average damage of 1.49, but plus 200% shield damage. So this is one potential way that you can rip through somebody's shields. Of course, we have also got advanced railguns, which do plus 33% shield damage, and of course these ones do an average damage of 3.25. There are other things to consider as well, so like, you know, how much... in terms of all of these different things that you build in, like you have energy requirements and so on and so forth. So the simplest way you can think of it, like there are beam weapons, there are missile weapons, and there are kinetic weapons, and they have trade-offs between sort of the range at which you can engage something. But I'd say it's a little more complicated. A little more complicated than that once all is said and done. But I will admit, so Smock, this is maybe less of a knock on Stellaris so much as just sort of what my expectations were coming from Endless Space. I definitely felt going in. Oh wow, they've already got their wormholes back up. How are my armies coming along? I think we're ready to go. So I think this is the point where I need to start doing some invasion. I think in this case we do something a little counterintuitive. We actually go for the capital first, just because that'll get us the highest war score. But you know what, guys? I think because we're going to be doing a big, we're going to kind of try and wrap up this war, and I probably need a little. This would not be a bad time. So I mean, obviously, I try to make this stuff new player friendly. And the last little while, I've kind of been playing in silence. So again, just to restate the goal, the whole reason why we went on this adventure was so we could vassalize. We could vassalize sort of our neighbor. They're the most logical. They're kind of the most logical target for this. We get along well with these guys to the south, and I don't believe they want to. Yeah, we have to be at peace anyway, but. They haven't been accommodating for vassalization up to this point. So this is just a cheap little way that we can get some colonies, especially because these are some areas that we can't inhabit ourselves. So if we have another species that we might be able to sort of use for labor, so much the better. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it for tonight. I think this has not been a very good introduction to combat. I think I probably fell into the trap a little bit more of, describing what I'm doing rather than necessarily explaining. So what we'll do, I think I need to be a little fresher to do that well. So we'll call it, again, if you guys are new, because there's definitely a lot of new follows. Thank you, Avocado Lad. A lot of new follows tonight. So Monday is dedicated Grand Strategy Night. We originally started doing Stellaris again because of the Humble Bundle, and the effort was to try and demystify the game, or at the very least try and convince people that the game is not that scary, that it's actually very accessible, very fun. If you guys have never played a Paradox game before, Stellaris is definitely the easiest one to get into. It's also got the best tutorial, although I say that sort of knowing that one of the reasons why like the Europa Universalis or the Crusader Kings tutorials aren't so good is they've had about like 5 years worth of DLC and patches to make the game very different. But as usual, if you guys are wondering how we got to a point, so I can remember when I first started playing this game where like 200 minerals seemed like impossible. So if you're not so sure, I will admit in terms of playthroughs, around this point, you could be forgiven for saying is like, well, I just don't know how to get to this level. So if you want, I do try to make an effort to upload these to YouTube reasonably promptly. So if you want to see how we got from the initial starting condition to here, obviously feel free to check it out on YouTube. If you just want to sit and watch Stellaris, we will be back at this on Monday. As for the remainder of the week, I do need to say it's a little bit unique. I am going to be trying to get through Assassin's Creed 3 this week. That means I'm likely not going to take any days off. I'm probably going to be streaming Tuesday to Friday. I got something special planned at the end of Assassin's Creed 3, but it is supposed to be a surprise, so you'll just have to hang out. Obviously, if Assassin's Creed 3 isn't your thing, completely understand. We're not going to be skipping the grand strategy on Mondays. Won't always be Stellaris. Once we're done Stellaris, we'll probably go back to a different game, but there's always going to be a Paradox grand strategy game played on Mondays. My birthday is on Saturday, so if I'm of two minds. There's one side that really likes the idea of streaming on the birthday, and then there's another one which says, maybe I should go outside and do something that's not streaming, especially after doing a week. So for sure, Tuesday to Friday, I am going to be here trying to start around 7, but as we know, it's a little late, or I'm usually late, and that's just because I walk slow, I guess. But if you want to know what game's coming up, normally just follow Twitter. I can tell you for sure it's going to be Assassin's Creed 3 at least until Thursday. And if you don't like Assassin's Creed, we'll see you next week. As always. Oh, Elsie, we're just wrapping up. It's good to see you again, though. And thank you, Endors. Thank you for your sub, by the way. As always, I do like to host somebody at the end of the night. I don't think I have any... Thank you, Endors. I don't think I have any Grand Strategy streamers. As always, if you guys are looking for more Grand Strategy, you can click on the game down below for any other Stellaris streams. Some other games similar to this, if you haven't checked them out: Crusader Kings 2, Europa Universalis 4, Hearts of Iron 4. But I have a feeling that most people who know about those games already know how to check those out. I, on the other hand, am going to host somebody I don't get a chance to host a lot, Ponce, who is better known as a League of Legends streamer, but currently playing Stardew Valley. I'm hosting Ponce because he's got a great personality, especially in a game like League where people's emotions tend to get the better of them. He's very relaxed. He's a lot of fun to hang out with in person. And I have never seen him play Stardew Valley, so I thought this might be a fun way to end the evening. I do know him, so if you want to come along with the raid message, it's "We're tired of system talk, heard this place was better." Hang out for a little bit. I'll probably hang out for a bit myself, and I don't know, I'll save this game and wrap it up. Anyways, I've talked too much. I'm tired. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much.